This is class number 2 of the Advanced Business Group, February 4th, 2015. Do you like my new REI pants?
Yeah, actually, this is super functional.
I mean, and they actually look halfway like.
They look like almost dressy.
Yeah. I mean, they don't instantly turn me into boy status.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with them. Not that I would ever actually put anything in these silly pockets, because. Well, it's not that, but it's
bulging.
Yeah, it looks a little dumb.
Yeah.
But if you had to, when I'm traveling, in San Diego, I left a bunch of stuff in the hotel room. They're sending it to me because I just didn't check the drawers. But one was my last pair of shorts I can still fit into. And then I went, shit, before I leave for Oaxaca, I'm going to need to go out and buy some friggin' shorts.
Yeah.
So I just went and spent a lot of money. And discovered they have really, I mean, it's not fancy clothes, obviously, it's REI clothes.
Super functional.
And they're well made.
Yeah.
And
you can return them in a year.
yeah, right. And there's a little, I mean, they're not just shapeless clothes.
Yeah.
And look at this. I spent a lot of money there.
Right, it's saying 2 minutes, so it's like kind of taking a little bit.
It's line.
It's lying. Do you want to like?
So why don't we skip our part of business?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you're gonna, unless it gets done really soon and we can do half of one.
Yeah.
Like those windows up there.
It's like this is actually the easiest it's been for a while. The last time
It feels like opportunity.
bought tickets, they made a sale like these.
But also like in progress.
Oh wow.
They don't look that look that great.
Wow.
They're like in under construction.
So these tickets are what again?
This is 40-minute tickets. These are for the it's the directed group sale, which are basically they have an allotment of 10,000 tickets for theme camps and
also requires
installations,
connection.
because we sort of create the infrastructure for Burning Man
Like
without
looking for a
theme
way
camps and their installations. It's kind
And
of a
not
foreign
100%
place.
sure. connected to
So
you.
they allow us to get tickets first to make
That's
sure we
very,
get
like,
people that we need to do the projects that we're doing.
Okay.
Desire to put the first
So
chakras
we get
together and
them,
like
like, right
ground
before everybody
somehow.
else.
Okay.
1 minute.
It's still tentative. Or still
Yes.
like,
The program minutes are different from our minutes.
Exactly. It's been 6 minutes so far. 6 minutes.
Usually it's the other way around. Like downloading will take 23 minutes and it's like only 11.
Well, this is so I'm in a queue to get flies running it, and a little person. There's like a little. There's a little guy with a green line just walking.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, when you say that, the heart chakra starts to like feel
Which is
really
it's very
active.
reassuring when I'm seeing
Like,
it.
There's this wonderful movie. I was in seminary, so it's a long time ago now. It was called Until the End of the World. William Hurt was in it. It's kind of magical realism. It's a very beautiful film. Very mystical, but also kind of science fiction-y. Anyway,
knowing what that's like, and what else is there.
and it's slightly in the future. And so you need to think this is 1992 or 3. So this is really before the internet, right before the internet gets going. And there's this, he sees a screen, because we have computers, so the screens were the screen, and he's searching for something. I don't know, maybe imposing my own language on it. But there ends up being this dog who says searching, and then he picks up a rock and looks underneath it. Searching, pulls aside a window. So I always, and then years later there was Clippy. And, and I thought, did they take it from that? But I've always thought that in internet searching.
Opening this up.
You should get out that movie again. That was a wonderful movie.
Okay.
And there's a little bit of fear behind that, so maybe that's something.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you want to have a mouse and move faster, or does that not
No,
work
it
for you?
doesn't matter. The ticket is here.
So the two of you did your thing?
You do your thing.
Excellent. Peter's now in. Apparently you just got to plug in credit card numbers or something mostly.
That'll be it.
So let's just check on in. He's getting Birdie Man tickets, and this is kind of, for some reason, the time he had to do it to get them.
Anytime.
Once again, we're going to time each other. The pattern of what's working well in your business, the pattern of what's not working well in your business, and if there's anything about your constellation that you want to share. And who shall I time? Who would like to go first?
I guess I can go first.
Excellent.
Well, so what's working well right now seems to be, I don't know what's working well. I can tell you what I'm enjoying.
And that's what's working well.
I've been, for one, my sessions are working well. I mean, I'm not having very many of them, but the ones I am having, I'm really loving. Like, and we just got through the second weekend of Hollow 2, and like things just went, or maybe don't. Like, you know, exactly. It was just like, wow. Really, really enjoying what I'm doing. And what else about that? And so I'm starting to talk to people about, you know, different kinds of work opportunities. So like I went to a BNI group, and I kind of hate BNI, but
they're perfectly lovely people, and one would like to work with them. But you have to make referrals, even if you think they're a dork.
right.
Model is not very good.
Yeah.
It's also a little expensive.
Yeah. So there's a way for me to like continue going for a little while as a guest.
Yeah, get invited by
So-
people and be substitutes for people.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about doing some more of that and just continuing to check it out. I talked to a divorce lawyer there. She came up to me and asked me about my work, and she's like, "That sounds like something that would help my clients." And I was like, "Why, yes, it would." And I talked to Carla about it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, if you can like get even one divorce lawyer to make like 3 sessions with you a part of her package with her clients, like you could be doing a lot of that work, and it really does help. You know, when people can calm down the emotions and clarify what they want, like that makes the divorce process easier on everyone, including the lawyers."
Yeah.
So that's what got me thinking about the referral idea
Yeah.
that I told you about, where
Right.
if I set up, or I think it's confirmed, I'm going to meet with a trainer friend on Monday to talk about, you know, what that would be like to work with his clients. I was talking to my friend in LA about, he wants me to come do a presentation to his real estate agents, and offer my one-on-one work to them. And that's something that happens in the real estate world, usually with like real estate coaches. And his company has resisted letting traditional real estate coaching companies come in because their company just does things very differently. And he's like, "We've been looking for something like new and different, and you could be it." And I was like, okay.
Opportunities are manifesting, Joshua.
Well, I asked for it. I was like, "I want to talk to you about maybe doing some work with your company," and that's the conversation I came
Yeah,
out.
but the door didn't close in your face. There was a response.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
They are manifesting, and part of the manifestation process is me actually
Asking and doing.
asserting,
Yeah.
you know, a request to make
Yeah.
the conversation.
Not like, universe, manifest all over me.
Exactly.
I promise not to say no too much.
But exactly,
Yeah.
it's like it's popping up. So I know some other real estate people. I want to get their opinions because I trust them and know them well. So I'm, you know, I'm just talking to people about talking to them, and I haven't had very many conversations yet. But like that's what needs to be happening.
Which also means you found a stance for those conversations that made them welcome conversations rather than feel like, God, this guy's bugging me and taking up my time, which is always the danger of asking for these conversations, finding out the stance that it's welcome in. So excellent, well done.
I haven't had any energy come up for like doing niche interviews with young leaders.
I have some.
So I don't know if that's yet to come or if that just wasn't the right thing. Like, I really navigate by my feelings and what's like exciting me.
Which I approve of.
So it feels a little scattershot, the approach I'm taking right now, but yeah, I'm doing it anyway.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
We've got just a couple seconds left.
Okay.
Constellation.
It was kind of in line with what's going on. Like, business wanted to connect. When I talked about some of these things, business had like heart opening kind of feelings and a little bit of fear, and I have a little bit of fear. And it was in line with what seems to be going on.
Okay.
I just say the thing I would like is to like feel really confident that I can go talk to these real estate agents and actually, connect with them and end up working with some of them.
Some of our work will help you with that today. It's not like exactly that, but I think it'll overlap enough.
Awesome.
Excuse me, eating with talking with my mouth with them. That's rude.
Can I go next?
Yeah, timing. How much time?
5.
What's working well is my energy is back. Woohoo!
Yay!
I've been kind of in this slow 6/ I just want to sleep. I just don't want to do anything. I don't want to work out. I don't want to really work on the business. I don't want to write. But all of that's been coming back slowly. So I feel much better. And I just spent over an hour this morning connecting with readers on a Facebook party where I was a guest. And I ran 2 Facebook parties last week for clients. But today it was so much fun because I really had this like real top of mind, like connecting with readers. And it was so much fun. And I gave some people a surprise gift. They don't know what it is yet, but some people who wrote me privately to get tchotchkes from me eventually and gave me their addresses. I'm like, oh, I have a surprise gift for you. Give me your email, which ebook format you like. And it was just, that was kind of almost spontaneous at the moment. I just so love being in this place of sharing my stories and giving away prizes and gifts. It's just so much fun. I really love it. It really got me thinking, and then I asked them, what kind of tchotchkes would you like? I don't have any tchotchkes for my romance. I don't have bookmarks or anything, nothing physical. It's all only ebooks. And that was so much fun to get their feedback on what they wanted. And I got some ideas from them I hadn't considered. And it's just such a heartwarming feeling.
I'm still listening. I just
Yes.
noticed I never set up the mic.
Oh.
So
And what's working well is I fired a client this week.
Yeah.
I let her go. I terminated our agreement. So we're in the finishing phase for this month. And that felt really empowering. And it felt super empowering to say to her and to other people, I'm no longer doing work for service. Like, I'm not the doer anymore. I'm just the consultant or the strategist or the coach. And here's my gals if you want to hire them. Or, there's a lot of people who do author assistant services in social media marketing and book production and all the things that we've been doing. And that feels so good. I finally really strongly drew that line in the sand because I've been waffling on that and kind of taking some of those jobs and thinking, oh, maybe I could do it. Maybe, sure, why not? And I noticed last night I had an in-person meeting with a client and he's like, well, who's going to do the ebook conversion? And I'm like, well, maybe Ezra, because Ezra was with me, my husband. And he's like, my husband, he knows what I'm going through and what he's going through. And he's like, well, let me check. So both of us were like, we may not be the ones to deliver the service for you, and maybe we refer you out. And he was good about it. But it's like both of our energies is very much like focused 100% primarily on our creative production, our books, and also have courses. And that is so good. It's been maybe about a 2-year sort of turning the boat to be completely like oriented in that direction and really saying no to everything else. So that's super exciting.
it's really interesting because I remember about 4 or 5 months ago talking to you about editing, and you're just doing it.
Editing?
Like lots of stuff, you're focusing, you're editing.
Oh,
on,
yeah. Yeah.
That terrible
Cut out.
sentence around editing about killing your darlings.
Oh, yeah. When you're writing your books, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's also
and saying
working
other things.
Yeah, and what's also working well is I'm have top of mind to delegate. So asking for help with friends or giving more to my assistants. So like this morning while I was at a Facebook party, my assistants and my tech guy were working out my tech issues. And And I'm like, and they keep me in the loop, and I'm like, that's very nice. Okay, I'm stepping out of the tech conversation. Like, I don't need to know. I don't want to know. And the part of me that likes to know all those details wants to step into that chair, but it's a real step. And I'm realizing, okay, my job is over here. My job is content creation and delegation and leadership and visioning and all these other things. So that's working really well. What I would like more of is I want to sync. I feel like I'm having, I want to finish editing my novel this month, which is a big stretch, at least the first pass of the third Henrietta book. And I need to sink deeper into my writing time. These 15, 20-minute blocks are just enough to get me going. And then I start to hit what's difficult about it, and then I bump over into some other activity. Partly it's the way I start the activity, because I started 15 or 20 minutes before I have to be on a call or something, you know. So it's like I want to give myself more room. I have to give myself more room. And it's also scary because it's a deepening into the story. So
Yeah.
I want that with this book as well as my other projects, but that's primary. So maybe that's something we can say hello to today. I don't know.
Check in with what we're doing. It may not
Okay.
feel like it's connected to what we're talking about, but you can check in.
Okay. And then the heart of business was, she just wanted to like march, go, go, go. And that's,
It is connected.
okay. That's good. That's good. I figured it was all connected. Yeah,
Excellent.
good. And I got here in 11 minutes. From my house.
That's a good
Speaking of
moving forward walk.
Did you walk?
Yeah, I live nearby.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she lives right over there.
Great. All right, I'll time you, Peter.
All right. So what's working well? What's the second one?
What's the pattern of what's working well? What's the pattern of what's not working well? Although I liked your slight
Oh, I just
shift on it, Beth,
use NLP.
which is almost like, what about the PS is already your DS?
Oh.
And what would you still like?
That sounds nice.
I was listening to her use that languaging, and I went, oh, that's a different way to do this. That might be nice.
Well, what's working well? Lots and lots of things. My energy level is also incredibly high, to the point that it's almost stunning me. Like I'm surprised at how much energy I've got. The clarity and the focus is really there, and it's showing up in all aspects of my life right now. So I've had, effectively, I've got 4 clients, really sitting down and working with me directly. It's like right now, like we'll be receiving compensation of some kind. It's 3, but I've got another couple on the pipeline, and it's awesome. And I'm loving what I'm doing. It's like super focused. It's the easiest thing I've done, just sitting down with people and talking about their businesses and bouncing ideas back and forth, or what the projects are that they need. So I've got some people I'm doing that kind of business assisting stuff, and then I've got one person that I'm doing business coaching with. Effectively, that's what it turns out to be, and it's really neat and it's really exciting. And I've sort of identified myself as a cheerleader for my clients. Like I really feel good about the stuff that they're doing, and I want other people to see them and feel good about them, or at least have them feel good about what they're doing and putting out in the world. And it seems to be coming through pretty clear so far. So I'm really appreciating that. So much to the point that I just randomly this morning, I had like 20 minutes and I popped out with a workshop idea that just felt really good to me. And I'm like, holy shit, like, where does that come from? Relating to your business, like relationship in business, you know, like to you, to your business, you to your life and your people and personal, professional, and you to your clients, you know, that connection to relationship and synergy between folks. And you know, I imagine some people, it is a reframe. It was a reframe for me coming in and doing Heart of Your Business and being able to communicate with my business and actually like develop that relationship. So it's just a rough sketch right now, but it's just kind of coming out, and I'm like, oh, this is really neat. I would love to do this.
Sign me up.
I'm also, this one I put down, I've gotten much clearer on recognizing what is and isn't my responsibility, specifically in personal or semi-professional relationships. And it's really lifted a weight off my shoulders significantly.
Oh, then the first half of this class today is going to be useless to you because
We'll just integrate. We'll integrate. This will be integrating more and more of that. I'll take all of it I can get because sometimes I still pick it up. So I'm happy to go there. Not working.
By the way, just want to let you know, I'm still waiting for that grand opening letter.
Yes, this.
I'm
So
kidding.
this will be coming at the end of the month, beginning of March. That's in my head. That feels like the right time to do this stuff.
Well, and I hope in your mind it's a completely different project than the one that buffaloed you
Totally.
before.
I've got a real sense of fluidity around all of this stuff right now. It's just like remembering that when I sit down on my computer to do stuff, it actually feels really good. Sometimes it can take a second for me to remember that I can pick up my computer and do these things. That could be something I could use probably a little like NLP tweak. Because if I don't do that, then I could just sit around the house all day and do nothing if I'm not careful. But it doesn't seem to be. It's not as static as it used to be. My natural inclination is to actually do things.
Yeah.
Let's see. PS and the DS. What's not working so well right now? My financial situation is not amazing. I actually took a real look at it personally for myself. And I did actually draft that projection spreadsheet for a client way better than anything I could have done for myself. When I do it for me, it doesn't look that good. And got a much clearer picture of what I would need to do sort of financially, what services I'm offering, and what the price points on that might be.
A minute.
So all of that is feels like it's coming together. More actually looking at my finances and making sure that I'm consciously aware of what I'm spending and what I'm making and how to make this work. I did not do a heart on my business. So we'll see what it has to say at the end of it. Yeah, generally just really excited and feeling really good. Had an amazing constellation. It really shifted a lot in relationship to my family and the way I feel again about responsibility.
Tell them the sweetest moment, just the one little sweetest moment.
The super sweetest moment was being in a constellation, and Jeff is representing my mom, and every time they check in with them, he's like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. And it's like everything with my mom was like, I'm fine, I'm good, no problem here.
And so I had the light bulb go off because Peter's been desperately trying to make sure his mom is okay for the last several years, right?
Yeah.
At the expense of his business. And I finally turned to Peter in their chair and I went, well, this is a surprise to both of us, but I think your mom is fine. And since then, mom has been showing up as what?
Way fine.
Fine.
I called her after disappearing for a weekend.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, hey, sweetie, how are you doing? Instead of, you didn't call me for 4 days, which sometimes is like what's come out. And we had like just these really sweet conversations. Like it's been really kind of amazing. Yeah.
Well, I just have to say that both of you sound like your businesses are in action.
I don't know.
I mean, just from over here being.
I actually referred someone to Josh. Someone who came to me for an NLP session that I was just like, it doesn't feel quite right. I'm like, but I know this amazing guy over here who's doing NLP work.
And I referred someone to Peter.
And I know a referral service just got hooked up with me who is, she makes money when she hooks people up together. And I bet she doesn't have any NLP focused people in her. So I will hook you up with her.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
I'm getting into her loop as, book coach
Cool.
and stuff. Cool. And then I have a family lawyer who's a friend of mine who I have to connect with on other reasons. And also my friend Amy, 7 years ago, she was a very successful 30-year-old real estate blah, blah, blah. Now she's, I don't know what she's doing. She's traveling the world, but she's a friend of mine and I will connect you to. So I don't know if she's a millennial. She's a little bit, but she's still in that group of, I'm going to make the world the way I want it.
So what's her name?
Amy Chilson.
So you're going to time me, Peter?
Yep.
Oh, by the way, one other thought, just you said I need to remember to pick up my computer. I'm wondering if something as simple as a to-do list on a bulletin board in a visible place. I don't know if that serves you or not, but just something like, right
Were
here,
there 3 back? Were there 2 or 3?
and it doesn't have to be overwhelming, just 3 or 5 things or whatever.
Was the 3rd?
Family
What's
lawyer.
interesting is the stuff's coming up to
Sarah.
do, and then I'm just
What's
doing
her
it. Like
Right.
Her last
everything.
name?
Like I wasn't planning on doing a workshop, like outline. But
And that's fine too. The stuff that just sort of comes up that you decide, oh, I'm going to do this too.
Yeah.
But if it is a genuine worry that you could sit around all day and not pick up the computer, that's one thing to kind of
It'd be nice. Creating a routine in the morning that's consistent, I think, or a little more consistent.
Yeah.
Would be helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'll show you my one thing that when I do it really helps, and when I don't, it really doesn't help, and I go in and out of doing it. Is the last thing of the day, sitting down and writing what I plan to do the next day, including lunch, a walk, time with clients, other routines of the day. It's just when I do that, it just makes everything better. And I do the things I really want to be doing, but I skip in the urgency. Anyway, so that's not the right thing for everybody, but things like that can be helpful.
So what did you say
I have a family lawyer named Sarah. Well, that's her. Nina Feldman is this woman. I'll connect with all of us.
Mhm.
She runs this referral service in Oakland, and she likes local people. A lot
Okay.
of local people come to her.
Cool.
And I bet she doesn't have any NLP folks.
Huh.
And each of you have a
And
different
what is her
flavor.
referral service for?
It's for all kinds of businesses.
Oh, it's services for businesses.
Right. It
Got it.
started, yeah. It's
Okay,
all
yeah.
kinds of things, from virtual
Like
assistants to bookkeepers to
accountants,
coaches
yeah,
to
yeah,
house
yeah.
cleaners
Yeah,
to
Oh, yeah, no,
PAs to
I would really
VAs to.
like to be hooked up with that for sure.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. I met her at a networking thing
Yeah.
locally last fall.
So, for me, I still gotta, I went to San Diego, had a lovely time, did the horse constellations.
Horse consultation?
Oh, I told you about this, didn't I? That I was going to San Diego and doing horse constellations. Maybe after the class, because I don't want to
Okay.
take class time, but it didn't have much to do with horses, not really. But I finally, I understand and experience nature constellations, and it's different. I remember in the family constellation training, Michelle Masters saying, you can't do constellations outdoors. You need a container. You need a boundary. And I understand that. I understand where that's coming from. But this model is different, and it works, and it's really amazing. Dogs kept on getting recruited for roles. It was just the coolest thing ever. Anyway,
Yes,
it basically
yes.
gives room for almost anything to be recruited. A chair, a cloud. It's very powerful. It comes from Francesca Mason, Boring Mason. Can't get her name right. She's Native American, and she trained with Hellinger. She's one of the very, very first trainers in the United States. Very real weight, amazing woman. And she's the one who created nature constellations. So at any rate,
Thank you.
astonishing. So afterwards I may talk about it more. And then I spent 2 days in San Diego doing the site visit and getting to know James. That was you killed two birds with one stone thing. You've got to be totally confidential about this, because some of you are involved with the conference. But I'm getting a bit of a crush on James.
When I talk to him on Monday, I'll make sure to tell him that.
Yeah, thanks.
Leslie wants to talk about.
You be good. Yeah, these guys are going to help out with the conference. If you want to help out, please
so
let me know.
great.
But
Probably not.
I'm still on
Thank
the
you.
fence.
we got a place for you. You're going to help in that.
Hello.
Um,
PR.
if you want to be involved in it, let me know, because that's actually one of our weaknesses.
I
So,
have, yeah.
um,
Constellations have a place in my world, yeah.
so at any rate, now if you just want to advertise the event, everybody can do that, and the information will go out. But if you actually wanted to play a role in the marketing, let me know.
Okay.
So that was really, really lovely, and just being around someone I had that strong sense of comfort with. We were kind of like joshing, and there's a lot of physical contact. It could have been, from his point of view, more brother and sister, but just that completely no work to have rapport. No work. And even when we disagree, which we do, it's not an issue. It just was lovely. And then what's not working, sort of, it's not really not working, but it's a pattern for me. It's the workaholism pattern, which is to get to Owaka, leaving on Sunday, has meant 10-hour days for about 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Given that I put the San Diego trip in the middle there, which required basically 2 days of emails after that. So I felt frantic and not able to really relax into going on this vacation, which I know is going to be really important. And I'm trying to keep it as, eyes on the prize. You're just doing something intense now. But it's got this frantic piece that I know is not so useful. So I'm just aware of that pattern. I haven't been able to really do tons about it lately. But I did hire Peter to be my customer care person for 10 days.
Oh, that's
So I don't need to worry about my email.
Send me all your dirty little secrets.
Yeah, right. I did tell the other group that if they email me, they'll get an email from you.
Cool.
And I just told them they should get a heads up because I don't want them surprised.
Yeah.
And one of them said, really good to know. And I'm like, none of you have sent anything ever that you wouldn't have. But anyway, so they are expecting it. What else?
30 seconds.
There's something else. Oh, that was it. Yeah, I'm happy that I got help. You're getting help better than I do. But this I think is the foot in the door on getting help. I think that I'll start
It's gonna get you used to it.
moving forward. Yeah, get used to it, and all of a sudden it's like can't live without it. And I'm a little nervous. If you guys know anyone you want to refer to me for the next 4-month program, which is starting end of March. Right now I have one committed person for it.
Is this the beginner level?
Another beginner one, yeah. I did early enrollment last year for the last one, and I had 5 people at the end of early enrollment. At this point, it looks like I have 1, maybe 2. There's still a lot of time, but I'm going to be in Oaxaca for a bunch of it, and I'm just feeling a little nervous about it. So,
well, if you want to write, if I've sort of been out of the loop, but if you want to point me back to like where I can point people to.
Sure, I will do that.
A
I'm going to
little
make a note
promo
about that.
pointer so I can go, hey everyone, my awesome NLP/Constellations business
I'd be
coach
delighted
in the Bay Area.
to.
Congrats.
Did you have any conversations with Fudo?
With who?
Fudo?
Haven't heard the name.
Oh, okay. He was gonna sit in on one of your calls, I think, but I'm gonna see him this weekend, so I'll ask him. He wants to coach young gay men who are going through their Saturn returns.
So like me, only gay.
I love that.
Are you going through your second Saturn return?
Yeah, I'm 51.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He's looking at the guys who are approaching 30.
It doesn't really
50 is second, right? Isn't
No,
that the
No,
second one?
it's like 60. It's
60.
every 28 years.
Oh, no, I have a Chiron return.
Chiron one.
I didn't realize Chiron had a little return cycle.
What's Chiron?
But of course.
I don't know.
It's out in the-
I don't know.
It's out in the Kuiper Belt. It's
It's out in the what?
the Kuiper Belt where Pluto lives. It's way out to the,
Oh.
it's out there in the edge. Yeah.
But Akasha made a big deal out of it. You're in your Chiron return. Oh,
Well, it's the
Okay.
wounded healer motif.
oh, okay.
So it's about learning how to take care of yourself first.
So I'm not sure I told you about this. I've been so desperate. It's not so much an issue now, but a month or 2 ago, I was so desperate to get some help around some of the stuff I was in, particularly still healing from the NLP Marin stuff. And I found an astrologer I thought I would like through a friend. And she decided, with no rapport whatsoever, to put on her tough love hat with me. You gotta, it's time for you to take responsibility and to get in action. And I interrupted her and I said, I'm not doing this. We got into it. It was like, it was really bad. It was truly bizarre. I'm like, you know what? I've heard enough. You need to take more responsibility. I'm taking less.
I want to, didn't you say at some point
Which is apropos of our meeting today, by the way.
that you were hoping that that one of us NLP types would like focus on rapport and teach rapport skills?
Right.
I want to teach rapport skills to my authors.
Oh, great. Excellent.
And I have been thinking about it from like studying like, okay, where do I begin and what do I say and how do I start and
Yeah.
how do I make this relevant to them? And so I got the whole, we are animals and the zebras and the lions and the sort of starting from the animalistic safety.
Feel free to check in with me about that because I
Okay.
can give you some of the downsides to, we were actually talking about this when we first came in, and the objections you always hear on the first weekend of NLP Marin, but they get over quickly, is that, oh, it feels unnatural and I feel like I'm mimicking people.
Yeah.
So check in with me so I
Okay.
can tell you just some of the potholes,
Sure, absolutely.
because I ran into them. And to the point where I don't teach rapport outs, I just don't see for me, it's its own thing that requires its own kind of training.
So you teach
so-
it as its own, well, I would teach it in relationship to marketing,
Right.
which I've already,
Right.
I already taught all my assistants how to do.
It's funny. I was talking about
Matching
rapport in
mirroring.
business. Like,
Yeah,
how do you get rapport with your
I
Yeah.
teach all my assistants how to do, to match and mirror on writing emails.
And digital backtracking.
Yep, keyword backtracking, huge, makes a big difference.
Okay. So,
And that's really what it lives in the realm for writers, is in the writing realm.
okay. All of a sudden, my nose is doing a scratchy, drippy thing. Excuse me. Okay. So I looked at your list of the things you asked for in your emails, and I decided there's no one topic that you all chose, I don't think, but there were several that you all had in common. So I've just started with the ones that seemed most relevant. Why are you doing that? It looks like you're not doing anything.
I get that a lot.
There we go. That's where you are.
I'm doing that. You're not doing anything. What
Ah,
are you doing?
so the two themes, and also stepping into the energy of the group one and what seemed next up. And the two themes are the what is my business, aka proper responsibility. Some of our, the joke I made about I'm going to take less responsibility. And generosity stance. Okay. We're going to start with the proper responsibility. So, Beth, you got your needs met over there?
Yeah, should I put more water in this tea kettle?
Sure, and you can put it on high.
Okay. I'm listening. I'm a very good audio learner.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk about this kind of mostly in the Hellinger context first, because it's really where we learn this. It's not like he's the only one who's had these insights, but it seems really useful for us. So the first thing, and just a few things I want to say is that, and again, these are things I don't have to say to you guys, because I know you're not going to react to this stuff, but it's worth putting kind of on the record. It's not about cultural conformity.
What's not about cultural conformity?
The proper responsibility is our theme.
Okay.
Sorry. Right? I mean, this isn't about staying in your place. It's not about, any of that stuff. Slaves, be happy with your role. It is the role that God has given you, right? So it's not about that. Sometimes our proper role turns out to be kind of over and against cultural norms, right? But figuring that out from a place of discernment rather than a place of anger, rage, resentment,
Reaction.
it can be really tricky. So the next thing is it does require to find out proper role. What that means, it's like, this is a good news, bad news thing. If it's not about cultural conformity, then we don't have a good, simple set of rules for how to find our proper spots, right? My dad was a coal miner, my grandpa was a gold miner, my great-grandpa was a coal miner, and I'm going to be a coal miner. I mean, it's tragic, but it's got a certain simplicity to it, So what it
works so well after we moved to electricity.
I mind electricity. Which means that it's going to require discernment, and what I'm just calling systemic intelligence. These days we have emotional intelligence and kinesthetic intelligence. What are the other intelligences?
Emotional.
Yeah, creative intelligence.
musical,
Yeah, so
relational.
having a certain amount of systemic intelligence, which is not natural for us until you get kind of trained, because America doesn't have it. You know, on the spectrum of individual and corporate, we're way over on the individual side of just thinking about life in general, much less the invisible aspects of systems.
Some people are more naturally systems thinkers.
Probably.
Those are the
That's
type of people
probably
who go
true.
into things like ecology. And
Right. Yeah.
I think it also requires age, life experience. Unless, I guess, unless it's part of the culture.
I'm sure there's a lot of things that would support this. Wisdom, maturity. I mean, we can presuppose, like we've worked out some of our safety patterning. Because when that stuff's in the way, it's really hard to discern. It's so hard. So whatever goes into helping discernment.
So is discernment and systemic intelligence, there are two items that feed into this, or are they two connected?
They're connected. They were just the two things that leapt to my mind.
Got it.
This is not systemic.
Right,
it's not systematic.
Systematic, there we go.
Oh man, I did a bunch of videos in San Diego for the conference, just little videos. And after I was done, and I was showing them to James, and he said, in every single one, you said systematic conference rather than systemic conference. Delete them all. Okay. So I just want to offer up a few stories. So I'm on a Constellations listserv. Somehow a conversation came up in which someone else told someone else that they were responsible for providing childcare so that parents with children could attend the constellations. And someone else said, that's not her responsibility, that's the parents' responsibility. And my response was, you know what? She could have a business model in which it includes childcare, or it might not.
Mm-hmm.
She has to think through the costs of that and whether her location can sustain that and whether she's good at that. But she has to discern what's her proper responsibility. And yes, it's sort of just assuming it's all about the parents, because aren't we about a village at this point around kids? But assuming that every practitioner in the universe should take care of your kids is also, so it's something more interesting than that. It really is about accepting a role with a sense of calling, not guilt or accusation or inappropriate importance. And I'm going to get back to that in a second. And then there was a story, I was on my group call with Heart of Business yesterday, and Mark was focusing on the fact that several of us are struggling with caretaking, literally or more symbolically in certain interactions. There was somebody who had to work with a coordinator who really wasn't up for the job, and she tolerated the experience rather than essentially firing her. I'm running into this with my web designer and worrying about hurting her feelings and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So the way he framed it, of course, he's a Sufi, so he's going to frame it this way, but you can feel it. Feel the difference between our version of caring, i.e. in this context, caretaking, versus God's vision of what would actually be caring in this situation.
You say that again?
So our version of caring, i.e. the caretaking, which actually wasn't working very well, making us cranky and tired and outcomes that didn't work, versus God's vision of what would be actually caring in the situation. What's divine caring, which could be something like not allowing someone else to do something, or giving them bad news, or whatever.
Letting go of a client.
Letting go of a client, yeah. As you guys know, there are some basic rules for families and organizations that we can rely on. So it's not completely just having to step into divine wisdom and figure out my role. There are some basic rules, and we know the ones in families. Parents need to be, basically, whatever you are, you need to be. The parent needs to be the parent. The second oldest child needs to be the second oldest child. It's just the uncle needs to be an uncle to the nephew. It's kind of straightforward, and we know the ways it gets distorted. In organizations, it's a little bit more complicated, and I'll just review these. I know I've told you these before, but it's not as simple as you're the president, so you're in charge. There's actually 3 axes for figuring out proper responsibility. One is stake in the system. You're the president, and so you're in charge. I'm co-director. The success of this conference lies more heavily on my shoulders than any of the steering chair members, right? And so that gives me a certain stronger, bigger role. I get a bigger say, in a way, yeah. But also competence. There's always that really difficult thing when a junior actually is better at something than a senior, and systems go nuts when they keep on going merely for the role. And
When they keep on going merely for the role.
So the person who is less competent but organizationally senior gets all the say.
Yeah.
And in the end, lots of bad decisions get made, and
Right.
people get resentful and pissed off. Blah blah blah. Right.
Sure.
And then the last one is seniority.
So who was there first?
Who's been there longest? Simple as that. Yeah. The janitor who's been there 30 years has a certain weight in the system, but they don't have stake, and who knows if they have competence or not, right?
Is this kind of based in a constellations frame, or is this?
This is a constellations frame. It's an organizational constellations frame. So the people who took Hellinger's work and really did the analysis in an organizational context figured out that the rules of belonging and role are kind of different in organizations. For instance, someone who no longer, you're in a family, you die, you get kicked out, you still belong. Not true in organizations. Once you leave the organization, you don't have a role in it anymore, with a few exceptions. Founders often have infinite role, or someone who did something truly terrible or something truly great. The one who rescued the business, the one who nearly tanked it with his embezzling, tends to be systemically belonging.
Interesting.
Those kinds of things. But by and large, if you work as an assistant, in a bank for 6 months, once you leave, you have no relevant role in the system anymore.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's the deal here. The trouble is for organizational consultants doing constellations is that figuring out responsibility is more complicated than it is for families. But there are at least some things you can judge by. And then you can talk about, there's this guy in charge of the department who's less competent than his assistant. And we can talk about it. We can actually talk about why the whole department isn't working very well, right? Okay, so, and this can come up in your own businesses to the degree that you interact with consultants or contractors or VAs, things like that. And also business partnerships. In your relationships, these are partnerships that you're seeking out, yeah? Someone may be more competent than the other one. Someone may have been doing their thing longer. Balancing these things is really going to be important. Okay, so this is the rule. Having said all this, given that there's some discernment, there's some rules, there's family rules, people who don't stay in their roles drive the system crazy. I wanted to do all this preamble first before saying that, because again, it can sound like, well, you're a slave, you should be happy a slave, stay a slave, don't make trouble. That's not what we mean here. But once we take all these things into account, people don't stay in roles, systems go crazy. So a very simple version of this is teachers who are not well prepared to have authority in their classroom, where the kids don't know how to be kids because they come from environments where the parents aren't showing up as parents. And then we can all feel the classrooms where the teacher, for whatever reason, either innately or they have the training or they have the support of the administration, can show up in their classroom and communicate, I'm in charge, we're okay, right? Yeah. I mean, we've all been in some group of some sort or another where a leader was supposed to be the leader and they just kind of didn't. Yeah. And either the thing collapses or other people start raising their hands formally or informally, and it drives everyone a little nuts. Now, when this happens, other people, given what I just said, are going to compensate somehow. There's a leadership vacuum. I will be the leader. Hence, children who get parentified, right? So it's especially important that the leaders are in their roles. It tends to lead the system to everyone else also being okayer in their roles. As children, so staying in our roles is really important. There's no child on the face of the planet who can stay in their role as a child if their parents aren't in the roles of parents. It's just Hellinger's phrase that I repeat over and over again, children are great in love and small in understanding. They can't do it. However, we as adults can do it with respect to our parents. And even if they continue, for whatever reason, to not step into their roles as parents, whether living or dead, we can assert ourselves as our children and them as our parents.
I have to do that a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's mostly an internal move, right? Mm-hmm. And we can, and we give to them the responsibility. So I was reading a lot of Love's Hidden Symmetry this morning, just looking through the research on this again. And, you know, let's say a parent violates us. The constellation move is, I give you full responsibility for the harm done. It is part of your dignity. I do not take it on. Which is different from, you fucked me up, right? I leave it with you. Yeah. So no, again, no child in the universe can do this, but we as adults can. You know, whether our parents are ready for that or not. Now, this is another topic you guys are interested in. I'll probably get to it next time, which is the self-blame and self-criticism and self-judgment stuff. In fact, I want to read this because my eyes jumped out of my head when I read this. By the way, these are the books I was researching this morning in prep for this class today.
Switch.
That one's about what helps organizations and cultures change. This is about adaptive leadership, which is essentially about situations when the resources of the community are not adequate to the change that needs to happen. So it's not, he talks about technical leadership versus adaptive leadership, or technical change versus adaptive change, and how to resource the community as a leader for, you know, the civil rights movement. You know, the elements are not available in the system.
Does that make sense for business? Like
these are both my favorite books on leadership. Yeah. And
like once you use that to kind of,
I'm happy to lend these books out as long as you return them like within a reasonable period of time. And I think that they're actually as important. These books I think are as useful for having a framework for business as Hellinger stuff is. Okay. Heifetz is Kennedy's School of Government. He's one of the big dudes. These guys are more popular. These brothers, the Heath brothers. They've written a bunch of popular books, but it's a real. This is more accessible. That one's a little more not scholarly. He's a little bit more clunky, but they're both, for someone who is not exhaustively read in the leadership stuff, those two are very good. Okay, so this caught my eye because I wrote something at the bottom of this. So I'm just going to read this. This is a particular context. The dynamic is the same when the parents marry because of a pregnancy. They don't get married for the child, but rather because they accept the consequences of their actions. The child had no active part in the agreement between the parents, but he or she often feels responsible. That's the key word, feels responsible, even if especially if the marriage is unhappy. Such children are completely without blame, and there's no need for them to feel responsible. And this is the key sentence. Nevertheless, many children do so anyway, and then they feel too important. And then I wrote down, self-blame equals too much importance. Do you love this reframe?
Yeah.
Self-blame equals too much importance. Self-criticism, self-judgment, whatever we want to call it. And I really, because I've been doing, I didn't notice it until I just put chills up my spine when I saw it. Obviously, I've read this 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm just revisiting it now. Because I used to like win every prize at self-blame. And I've been doing it a lot less over the last 6 months or so. And I can feel how I'm demoting myself.
When you let go of self-blame?
Yeah. There's a letting go of the responsibility for something that is not my responsibility. And then again, Hellinger's phrase, you must be small in your family to be big in the world, right? There's like a writing of the teeter-totter. The less I do this, the more I can take proper responsibility. There's this wonderful shift. Yeah. As long as you're taking responsibility for stuff that isn't yours, you actually cannot raise the other side of proper responsibility. It's got to kind of go like this. Yeah. So next time you find yourself blaming yourself inappropriately for something, you can go, "Whoa, God, I'm just a big pants, aren't I?" Or something, whatever, in a loving way. So the other example of this, I'm rewatching for probably the 10th or 12th time, Band of Brothers, which I'm utterly addicted to, this series. It's the 15 years ago HBO series by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg on the 101st Airborne and landed in D-Day and fought the last 6 months or so of year of World War II. And it's an extraordinarily done series. I just think it's remarkable. But that aside, I was just rewatching an episode in which the NCOs, which is the non-commissioned officers, they were enlisted men who, for their leadership, were promoted to the level of being these very junior officers. But they're the ones who get all the work done, right? Have an incompetent lieutenant in charge of the company, and this is still during training, and they're like, "I'm not going into battle with this guy. There's no friggin' way." But they can't say anything about it without literally the possibility of being shot for not desertion, but whatever they call it. Treason or something. So the 10 or so of them get together, and one of them says, "You need to understand, before we sign this, you may be put up against a wall and shot. Are you ready to take that responsibility?" And you don't hear anyone say, "Well, I don't want to pay that price. That's not fair." They stand in the dignity of their position, and they're willing. What they're going to do is they're going to actually say, "Our leader is a problem." So they're going to take a role that isn't theirs, but they're also going to take the consequences for doing that. Right?
Do they get shot?
They don't get shot.
Okay, good.
There's a good general involved. but they all get demoted.
Okay.
But they figure it's a good price because now they are not going to parachute into France with this guy in charge. This is a perfectly worthy price to pay for them, because they're all about trying to figure out how to do this job properly that they know is not a lot of them are going to get out of, right? I just love that story as a way to say, because I think a lot of the time people who want to leave from a junior position don't want it's like this civil disobedience thing. If you want to be civilly disobedient, by all means do it, but that means going to jail. That's part of the witness. Yeah, Gandhi had the people stand to do the salt lines, if you've ever seen the movie Gandhi, and receive all of the beating as a witness of the injustice of British colonialism. And they didn't go, oh, we shouldn't have gotten beaten up. They knew exactly what they were signing up for. Right?
And along those lines, I saw Sons of Liberty, which was a 3-part series about the story of the American.
Really funny.
It was fun.
all the rock Rolling Stones music.
Well, it wasn't inside. They didn't do that. They didn't.
Yeah.
No, it was quite interesting,
Yeah.
and there was a very intense. It's very moving to watch them all sign the Declaration of Independence,
Right.
and then go to war.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
sign me up. But
Yeah.
but also switch from just feeling oppressed and not knowing what to do to going, oh my God, I mean, we could have things different. Oh, we want things different.
Yeah.
And it was a gradual shift, and
Right.
the British were horrible.
And not to get too political about this, we will notice the difference between going to war in Iraq, which was painted as I'm being strong, we're making decisions, and really was about something quite different. Okay, so the last thing I want, and I'm going to make the most important point last, which is that all of this is an order of love, which, by the way, is not a coherent list. It's just people reading Hellinger's stuff and kind of, oh, here's one. There's an order of love about belonging. And so Hellinger himself never had the list of 10 orders of love, but his followers have kind of organized it a bit. So all orders of love are about what? Love. Okay, so proper responsibility not only allows for the proper flow of love, right? Expression of love, but is itself an expression of love in the system. Our love, others' love, and the universes. The love of the planets that do their ordered thing. Yeah. It feels good. So in business, we'll start here, is that proper responsibility is grounded in love and trust and valuing who we are. I'm going to write that down because that's really important, valuing who we are. So much of modern business growth stuff is some assertion of who we are that puts a lot of people out of congruence with themselves. Because there's some part of them that knows they're not that.
You lost me somewhere.
So I was just talking with a client who went to one of these things that said, oh, you should become a speaker. You'll make a lot of money if you're a speaker. And it's like, I don't know if I want to do that. And that message is a big one from a lot of business growth stages is become a big speaker and, the positioning conversation, which at Thrive just made me want to barf.
What's positioning conversation?
Mention your 6-figure house and the length of your dick. No, but I mean, essentially.
That's right. I've got 7 inches of body for you.
That's it.
Or someone standing up and telling us, y'all could get sponsors. Isn't that great? And without,
Right.
people going, corporate sponsorship for what I do? Are you kidding?
Wow.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Not
Or giving people the idea that they can get JV partnerships, joint venture partnerships with people who are have 10,000 member lists.
Right.
No, find someone who kind of is in your space and you can help each other. That kind of stuff. Who we are is fine. If we don't know what our niche is, then we can go to someone and say, I'm still thinking about that. I wonder, this or this, instead of having to pretend I have a niche. Okay, so that's, and what it means is that there's there's a space in here for ongoing discernment of proper role of pretty much everything. So what's the right price for something? What are my right programs? What areas to expand into? What programs to cancel or clients to fire, right? New partnerships. What's my proper responsibility here? So Peter has a good one in that he's decided, at least for now, that marketing coaching is not anything he's going to say yes to,
Yep.
right? For me, it was discerning that I needed to take a new relationship with generosity. And that really shifted something for me. So we're going to move into exercises now, but before you do that, can you think of something, just share something in which you discern something that was or was not your proper responsibility that we have not already mentioned, including mistakes where you took on a responsibility for something that made you cranky or lose a lot of money or made you sleepless or whatever it might be.
Sure.
With respect to business, so we can keep it relevant to that. Yeah.
In the last job that I worked, pretty much the functioning of the organization, the every aspect essentially of what management wanted from the employees, write-ups, all of these kinds of things with people. And I'm sorry, I'm reaching a little bit because it's a different example, and I was thinking of it first. I felt like it was all coming from me.
It was all coming what?
From me. Like I felt like the weight of having to pass on the sorry, the company only values you 50 cents was something I couldn't let go of. Something that I felt personally like I was responsible for not being able to get that for them. And I would fight for the employees for this. I'm not sure if that's improper or not, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm a little unclear. I'd have to talk with you a little bit more. Something is out of order, though,
Yeah.
with respect to responsibility. You can feel it when you talk about it.
Yeah. People at the top who are saying you should do this, and then I'm the one who's actually doing it, and trying to pass that on and feeling either responsible for it and also in conflict over it. I mean, there was so much stress around that my entire career, pretty much.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and there is a place where if we're going to take a role in a business, in an organization, we have to take on the role that we get hired for.
Yeah.
And if we can't,
Yeah.
if we really can't, then we probably shouldn't be in that job. You know, some people need to make a living. We do understand.
Yeah.
Is it here that we've talked about like corporate structures where to get promoted, a person will have to like fire the
people.
person that was.
F2 structures.
That's where that was.
Yeah. So everyone's
Reminds
heard
me of
that,
some of that.
but
It's
in
an F2 situation.
yeah. Yeah, no, being an F1 in an F2 organization is probably not going to make you feel good about responsibility.
Well, and seeing the incompetency in the people above me and stepping in and doing their jobs, essentially, for fear of them not doing it, like that was a pattern.
Right.
The other one too.
And that's probably something you can only do for a short time before that's going to burn you out.
Yeah, but we're burned out for a long time.
Yep. And that's the sign of it being improper for you taking that role, even though for whatever reason it was necessary.
Yeah.
Right?
This is also before you had your constellation and did all the work you've been doing recently.
Yeah.
I would say taking on book production for the last 2 years has been something I have done out of a sense of, oh, I know how to do this. And then afterwards it's like, I don't want to do someone else's book, you know, and just sort of this shifting desire to just be focused on my own work. And so I don't know if that's exact.
No, that sounds right. Yeah.
Plus, you know, I let this client go. I was doing marketing services for her and offloading a lot to my assistants. But I just felt like I was her employee. I was talking to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And versus her her advisor, her strategist, her someone who helps her think on a little deeper level. And someone doesn't make time for that. So I can't be my best self with her. And we're letting that go.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. I have that little trigger part of me that's like, oh, I know how to do that. I can do that for you. And it's like, no, not my job.
And we want to kind of pat the part on the back that likes feeling competent.
She
'Cause- no, I mean-
loves those.
Yeah.
No,
I know how to
totally-
do that. So
Yeah.
you go, oh, I do know how to do that. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's some people you can talk to.
Yeah.
So it still feels like it's a little bit of a process. It's moving out right now.
Yeah.
This new,
Yeah.
this new thing. And this thing about there's something about being an author that is also about taking your proper role
Yes.
that I want to talk to other authors about, because a lot of people are like, oh, I just want to write, and I'm like, you got to learn how to market. You got to learn how to present yourself in a way, however you do that, whether it's through writing or presenting. You got to learn how to interact with your readers. You got to, like, you're not just a little cave writer. No, you're not anymore, and not ever, actually. And that's a whole myth around being an artist.
Writer.
Like being in your cave writing,
Oh.
and that's all you do. So that's kind of a responsibility that I want to really bust out in a huge way. Not just author, but also artist. Just our culture has a huge misconception of what it means to be an artist. And I'm not the only one talking about this, but I have a lot to say.
Yeah.
And I'm in growth around it myself.
Well, and what I hear in there is not what it means to be an artist per se, but what it means to be an adult. And to be an adult, unless you got a sugar daddy, means earning a living. I mean, that's part of our adulthood is,
Instead of earning a living.
oh, sorry,
Right.
making a salary that can cover your expenses.
And taking
Yeah.
care of yourself and not
Yeah.
waiting for someone else
Yeah.
to do it for you. Yeah.
So if your choice is art, then you've chosen perhaps a more challenging way than being an investment banker. We do understand. Part of your dignity. Yeah. I just want to be a wife. Oh yeah, good luck with that's a whole set of responsibilities, and it has great dignity, right?
So the dignity of the role, of the role that you choose.
Or are called to, which I like the
I
language of.
love calling, because
Yeah.
that's also where we come from as these crazy writers who go, I just got to write this down, and you don't know why, and it's hard. You learn how to be a novelist. I'm like, wow, that was hard, and now I can do it.
Well, and just to be fair, for people who grew up in families where the parents weren't the parents,
Yeah.
there is, which is most of us at some level,
Yeah.
there's a desperate desire to be small.
Yeah.
And it gets really hard to feel good about quote unquote growing up. Because then we feel like we've given our parents a pass and we've given up on them finally doing the parenting. So I have people show up all the time who it's really clear to me that the full growing up thing, being in their weight thing, is this, it's the ecology of the situation. And I need to, because I do change work, is help them work through that so they can really step into their weight.
Yeah.
Whether or not their parent, we can give the responsibility back to our parents, whether or not they ever do it.
I find myself in that position too, and that's why
Yeah,
I need to
Yeah.
learn constellations better. I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything from you,
Yeah,
Josh,
I probably
before,
will.
before we do a little bit of,
Well, a small
Give an
one,
example.
just
yeah, small ones are good.
I've always, as a massage therapist, kind of like, for me, I just made the decision early on that I wasn't going to do appointment reminders, and that I was choosing to work with people who were responsible for their own calendars. So other people take on that and they're not cranky about it.
Right.
But for me, it was like,
Right.
I'm not going to do that.
That's great.
That's really nice because I do that and I feel good about that because I want to work with some people who probably aren't good about their calendars. We come to different, like, I want to give childcare to parents and you don't. That's fine.
And I found myself more flexible around it. Like, I have a client right now who I know that it's going to be so much more likely that she shows up if I send her a text.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's like I'm doing that just with her, and I don't feel cranky about that.
Right.
So it's like it's not a rigid thing.
Right. And at some point you may have 20 or 30 clients with a percentage of people who need that. And you finally go, I just want to systematize this.
Yeah.
And that's part of our process as well.
And I systematize my calendar reminders
Yeah.
for me and for the client. So
Yeah.
it's a dual.
Online schedulers offer many different elements, one of which is reminders. So it's a variety of things that they help out with.
There's so much in helping professions about proper responsibility too, because, you know, we can't take responsibility for the client's outcome. We're not fixing them. Like all of that stuff comes up.
Right.
Um,
And then we're in business stance stuff again. Yeah. Okay, so little individual exercise right now in your seats.
Okay.
So the question is, what is my business? I love this double entendre. I just love it. I almost want to start a workshop.
Mhm.
It's not your business, but what is your business? I don't know. So what is your business? And so I'm going to take you through a little process, at the end of which you will probably want to write a little bit.
Okay.
Let me use this since I have these handy.
Do you mind if I sit over here?
Whatever, and you're probably going to want to move one of those pillows because they end up taking up a lot of space on the chair, and it may be a little dusty. Dust accumulates so quickly.
It does.
That good? Excellent. Okay, so I'm just going to start us off and take you through a little process. However you do it, just open your heart. To the big L love that is all around us. And again, in any way that you know how to do this, connect to love and trust. Just breathe that in. And without any agenda, without presupposing anything, without any input of any kind, just ask yourself the question, ask the universe the question, what is my business? And see what comes into your heart. I'm going to invite you into silence with that for a few minutes. And I will ring the bell when it's time for you to open your eyes and write some words down. What is your business? few moments to just write something. And start to wrap that up. And at the end of this, we will share, but not right now, because I have a couple of other things I want to invite us to try. So, everybody take a couple of cards. One, write proper place. On the other, write not proper place. In a way that you can't tell from the back what they are, because we're going to start out blind. Actually, I'm going to do this too, because I don't need to facilitate anything here. And all we're going to do is, this is really simple. This is informational. You might get a reference K here. Just want you to shuffle them up, place them down, step on one, step off, step on the other, compare and contrast, turn them over, go, oh my God. And then you can do a little bit more, but this is really just informational for a second. How does being in your proper place land in your system? How does not being in your proper place stand? And the other thing just to notice is that you may step on one of them and go, oh, that's like when I was 2 and left in the crib, right? Or something. You might like get a real sense of what this is like, what the feeling is like. The other possibility, which at this point I'm hoping not, is that you may get some ecology about being in your proper place.
Oh.
We'll see.
Oh, shoot.
What I'm just noticing, the longer I stand on one, the K's change a little bit. So. If you're curious, you can also like be on one card and notice what the other one feels like. Do they like each other? Do they hate each other? Do they not notice each other? Peter having another one of his, oh my God, constellations work moments.
I know, every time I do it, I just love it. That's just this one. I like this one.
Okay, I'm gonna really have mine. Oh, thank God. It would have been really upsetting if it had been the other way around.
Yeah. Interesting. Huh. Okay. And then just check them out once.
If you
and get
want
there.
to. If there's anything in it that now you freestyle. We're not gonna do this for very long.
Weird. All right, we're gonna have to work on that.
You got a little
I
ecology.
got the opposite of what I
Oh.
thought it would be. I was dancing when I wasn't in that proper place. I felt spacey when I was in. Wait, we'll talk about it after I guess.
Are you sure which one, or have you gotten yourself confused already?
No, this one was on the left, and this one was dancing and happy and.
Which is what?
Not proper place. Proper place was kind of head down, a little spaced out.
So now you know what they are. Just go on again.
Yeah.
Do them visually. I mean, not blind. And see if they evolve at all.
Please, please.
Well, actually, be neutral about it if you can. Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
No, they're done. Okay, I'll pick them up. Yes, let's not stop over Leslie's proper place and not proper place. Disrespectful.
Okay, this is fun. All right. Okay. That's my
Hello, canine.
Hello, love them.
Just gonna start calling you the generic.
Okay.
Hello, dog like.
The dog.
Dog. Maybe you're a dog. Wouldn't that be fun?
Such wow. Someone on Scrub today had such wow.
Does anyone need more
There,
cheese?
serve this
I can
cheese.
cut more.
That cheese is delicious. I've eaten almost all of it. So no more for me, thank you.
No more.
Because otherwise it will just probably.
It's very lovely cheese. What kind is it?
It's Irish cheddar.
Very lovely.
It's I think it's, if I'm recalling this purchase, an organic cheese. Okay, so last thing, and then we'll share.
Okay.
We're now going to do mini constellations on your own. And these are the cards. Let me explain the third one, which is I want you to think about a situation in your life and you're wondering whether it's your proper place. Now I'm calling it the opportunity, but that might not be the right word for this. It may be an idea. It may be something you've been doing for a while and you're getting cranky about it, but you're not sure if it's, a proper responsibility issue or not.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we're talking about opportunity right now. Yeah. That
Yeah.
one. My question is, how do I step into the proper responsibility, like of being a romance author? Because that's my big project right now. Can I do that? I mean, I don't really feel the problem side. I feel like
Yeah, just being a romance author.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just put
okay.
that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything you've got, like, the question there that you're holding is, I'm not sure quite how to do it in proper responsibility.
Right.
That's fine. Okay, so you're gonna have definitely 3 cards: you, your business, and the opportunity, whatever, the idea, the whatever. the program, the blah, blah, blah. And then I leave space if there's anything else, you get an inspiration you feel like it belongs in the constellation. There may not be a fourth card, or a fifth or a sixth card. Okay? So, here's some more. Some more. Here's another one. So at least 3 cards. And if we need more, I will cut more. You don't have to, but it might be easier. This is going to be not blind.
Okay.
And remember, when you're doing not blind with more than 2, it's really important to put your pile down, pick up one, place it in your field, wherever it seems to go, then take your second one, get a feel, get into the roll for a second, place it, and then the third one. And then you can start really stepping on them and moving around and stuff. But it's really important not to place them all at the same time,
Okay.
because then you're in all 3 rolls as you place them, which tends to confuse matters.
Probably need extra magical cards.
Oh wait. Those say proper place on them.
Ah.
These are different.
I'll get some more.
No, I got 3.
Okay.
I might need more.
Yeah. Okay. And ask for help as necessary.
And you don't step into them after you place them all?
Yeah. I mean, you're in them for a moment as you're
Yeah.
placing it, right? But yeah, we set up the system and then start feeling them in relationship to each other. You guys can see all my Awaka books on my dining room table. Trying to research and get ready. And if anyone obviously needs any help or wants me to feel a roll, please let me know.
I need another card.
Okay. Just one?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you may just feel something else is in the field, something that, you know, the others can feel or one of the roles can feel is there. Or something.
Huh. That's interesting.
And mostly this isn't about changing anything, but if you want to try and bring some resolution in or something useful, I invite you to have your facilitator hat on about that. mostly what I'm hoping is that this, if it's something you have any question about, whether it's your proper role or not, the constellation will make it clear to you whether it is or isn't. Beth's question is a little different. But if that's the question you're posing, or in Beth's situation, how to be in it in a proper way. And you might get clarity about how it's not proper if it's not proper.
That's interesting. Could you step on
Sure. What do you want?
the opportunity?
Is it facing that way?
Yeah. What was
So far?
I gotta check them both out. Yeah.
So without making any meaning about this, obviously, I feel kind of wibbly wobbly, little lightheaded. What would I call this? A mild fight flight. It's a little bit floating out of my body.
Yeah. And can you check my biz?
Is it again? I saw you doing it that
Actually,
way.
what I meant was from opportunity. Can you look at my business?
Oh, I'm
See-
sorry.
That's okay. Sorry. I didn't.
Why don't
Is there a better way to do
let's
it?
just open this up a little bit,
Yeah, sure.
and then you step on that so I can
Okay.
actually feel. Okay, I feel like I'm gonna vomit. Sorry.
It's okay, yeah, no, that's what I thought. Okay, if you could.
I don't have, by the way, step back on.
Huh?
I don't have any attitude about you. It's just something about that
That's
that
right.
creates that experience. I actually kind of like you,
Mhm.
but looking at you, I feel that. I don't know. How does the business feel?
Kind of fuzzy. Some sort of like I'm kind of unfocused at some point, slightly past the middle of your head.
Yeah.
Just kind of like it's sort of neutral but not amazing. It's just fun.
And again, y'all may be picking up on ecology. So an adjustment of the arrangement
Mhm.
might reveal that there's actually a proper responsibility there.
Well, this is actually, this particular opportunity is being an NLP practitioner, whatever that means. And I put it in there because I was curious because I was so focused on that
Yeah.
for so long. Would you mind stepping on that one for me?
This feels like that, only heavier.
Really?
Yeah.
My experience of that was really different.
Well, let me step into it for a little bit longer. Yeah, I feel kind of heavy.
Mhm.
I feel kind of like I got a bit of a burden. And what I really want to do is stand next to this one and kind of link arms.
Okay.
Remember, different people interpret the
Sure,
signals
sure.
differently.
Yeah.
But what is this?
Helping people with their business, basically. Yeah, that's like helping people help other people with like doing the business work.
What you've been talking about over there?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick up this card. I want you to name this really cleanly.
Okay.
And take out the word help. It might have something to do with, I started out with the word help, but the emphasis over there was wanting people to do their thing really well in the world,
Yeah.
and feeling like they're cheerleader.
Yeah.
So actually write
Can I
down
be
the,
business cheerleader? Business cheerleading? Is that clean enough?
whatever is the cleanest version of that.
Help is the only word that I can fucking put in front of this stuff right now. What is that?
Support.
Support would be good. Supporting.
There's something that, for me, you and the word help has got a charge.
Yeah. Lots of people do.
Yeah. I'll help. It feels like immediately when you go into help mode, you become parental. You take on too big a job.
Thank you.
And that doesn't mean the word help isn't fine. It's a perfectly good word. It just seems something, an association for you.
Is
sometimes.
supporting small businesses clear enough? I mean, that seems pretty clear,
Uh,
concise.
do their best
Okay.
or something like that. I don't have quite the right language, but supporting small businesses for them to thrive. Right? Something about that.
Okay.
Okay. And give it to, see, you don't want to just throw it in.
Yeah. Got it.
I want to stand right here. Stand in Peter. And start out, because I think you were the other way around facing that
I was.
opportunity. Yeah, I want to do this. It's still a little scary.
This actually feels kind of nice.
Like, what if your business not only supported others, but supported you?
That sounds good.
Because I think the proper role
A little space.
is also about proper place, right?
Yeah.
If you were going to throw this over here, let me see what it feels like. My guess is, I want to barf. There's something about
That's interesting.
this
Yeah, that makes sense.
that it's like we could swap these out and it wouldn't change the effect.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So I guess what
Okay.
I wanted to. Thank you. Can I play with this a little bit more?
Just another
Just
minute.
real quick.
That was interesting.
Good. Always glad when they're interesting. Do you want more cheese?
I just wanted to taste it before it was all gone. Thank you. Did you know I'm eating gluten again?
I didn't know you weren't eating gluten.
Oh.
I don't track this stuff very well.
I've been at gluten for about maybe, I want to say, 3 years.
So you didn't eat did you eat the noodles on Christmas?
I was eating gluten again by then.
Okay.
So when he was out last time, we had 3 ayahuasca ceremonies in a row.
Are you done with that? Or are you still?
wanted to notate it.
Okay, good.
After that, I got the hit to try some meat, and I did. Nothing happened. So I tried
Wow.
more, and nothing happened. So
Cool.
I'm very happy.
Nice. Avoiding gluten's a pain in the ass.
Totally.
I've been doing it for 3+ years, 4 years. It's fine.
I just mean that there's so much out there.
It's gotten easier in the last year or so. There's a lot more gluten-free stuff available, but it's really nice not to have to eat it.
This is weird.
So let's gather it up, guys. Because I do want to do one more thing with the generosity stuff.
Do we get to share?
Yes. That's what I want us to get together.
What's the best city in the world?
What's the best what?
City in the world.
Bangkok?
Generosity.
Paris. London, Amsterdam.
What's the best nation in the world? Donation.
So I wanted to say to you, Peter, that what I found in the Heart of Business constellations is that there's no rule about whether businesses should feel bigger, smaller, or the same size. There seems to be a right feeling about that and a wrong feeling about that for a phase in a business.
That makes sense.
And you can tell when the business feels bigger and that feels really good and right, and when it feels bigger and that feels really off. And so there's a way in which it feels like your business needs to be bigger than you right now in your system between you and your business that is useful.
Well, and it's interesting because I had a separate card for my business, and then I had supporting
Right.
that thing, and then I had opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Because
Well, the funny thing is that you made your opportunities your businesses.
yeah, I wasn't really sure what else to put
Yeah,
on there at this
yeah,
point. I'm
that's
like,
fine.
Sort of like, well,
That's fine. That's no worries.
can I share about just real quick about my?
Yeah, so this now is the time to share for a few minutes about the opening little meditation if you want, the little dyad thing if you want, and the last little constellation, whatever it is about all that you want to share for a few minutes. Yeah.
So when I went into that little meditation, the first thing I got was helping others to help others to help others to help others, sort of like an infinite stretch. Service, familial love, opening the door for creative flow, and juice monkey, whatever that is. These were just like things that popped into my head.
Juice monkey.
Juice monkey. When I went and stepped on those two little things, the first one felt sort of like I was standing in the corner, being punished when I was a kid, with my head down and just sort of a little wobbly. And the other one was me looking around kind of distractedly and dancing and just having a good time. Dancing was not my proper place, and the face in the corner was my proper place, which was interesting.
Yeah.
When I
Ecology.
when I reviewed
We all have a lot of job insurance because of ecology.
when I revealed them to myself, they still felt pretty much like that. But the one that was my proper place really got a strong sense of proper being kind of ugh. And then when I stood on not my proper place, it was like fun. And
Yeah.
like not my proper place had like a sense of like,
You are naughty.
I'm
boy.
not where I'm supposed to be. Ha
Yeah.
ha.
Naughty.
Standing on the constellations.
So before that, I just want to say I've only had one client in all my years. As proper is just Hellinger talk, right? It's jargon. We get used to it because we do. And it seems like an extremely useful word to me. But I had one client who I used the word and she almost bit my head off.
Yeah.
And then I made a mistake and I used it a second time. She says, I already told you, Leslie, I don't like that word. And I made note to self because it just comes out so easily for me. But there's a lot of coding in our childhood about what it meant to be a proper girl and in a proper place and stuff like that. So I don't know, you might try some different languaging and try it over about whether it's just wording or there's actual real ecology here.
Yeah, like alignment. Is alignment this sort of similar in this case?
No.
Okay.
They're overlapping circles, but they're not exactly the same thing.
I'll play with it.
If we're in alignment, we're in our proper place,
Yeah.
but it's not exactly the same idea.
We can be out of alignment in our proper place too.
Probably could. Yeah. Yeah.
So then when I put down these other guys, I seem to be doing okay in most of the time. My business felt kind of young at first when I first stepped on it. My opportunity was being an NLP practitioner, which was kind of like the definition I've been using for that last year. And that felt heavy and wobbly, like for you and for me. When I stood on it, I almost started crying when I was looking at my business from that place. It just felt really young and unhappy. Then I put in supporting small businesses, doing their best for them to thrive. I just put it all on there.
Yeah.
And that was the one that you stepped in and got behind me. And it didn't feel as freewheeling fun for everybody, but it felt much more grounded.
Yeah.
And solid.
Yeah.
Having that support me.
There's another piece in here. It's again not exactly the same, but we've talked about this before, like in the planning conversation. That planning lets me feel grown up was one language I used. It puts me in my proper weight, which is really hard for some of us to feel who felt we couldn't be kids with respect to our parents, right? So there can be ecology about proper weight as feeling heavy and no fun and limiting, yeah? But when we really feel our proper weight, it actually feels really good and grounding and strong and can include play and creativity and all that stuff, right? So it seems like for almost all my clients who are trying to build their businesses, getting clean about their proper weight and cleaning up the ecology around that is usually a pretty big deal.
That makes sense then. Thank you.
Cool. D next.
You can go. That initial exercise, what is your business? I got take care of self, and then kind of under that is move, listen, and then midwifing stories. First my own, and then others. And then afterwards, when I was sitting here, I wrote travel, explore. Like there's a lot of ways I can take care of self. That was lovely, and not new, but good. And move is right up there at the top of the list. When I'm stuck with an idea, I have to move, and then the idea can come. Interesting. Very, very connected to that. When we did the exercise, proper, not proper place, when I did it blind, the not proper place felt like my third chakra, solar plexus, heart. It felt like something was off. Like I was calibrating it through the body. It just was like, kind of like stomach, something's not right. And then when I went to proper place, I was just very calm. It was like quiet, still. It was nice. So that was cool. And to notice that I also didn't have a huge, I really have to be paying attention to feel the difference. Because when, that was interesting. And then for the constellation, I did stepping into my proper weight or role as a romance author, and I had to add in some things and move things around a bunch. And what it ended up being is I put down a card for what supports me as a romance author, and that was nice. And I'm like, there's still something missing. So then I put another card behind that, which was, I didn't name it, but it feels kind of like life energy, just strong, positive, whatever. And that helped. And then also I put in a row, there's me, and then there's romance author. And what also helped the system is I added in me as a fiction author. So I've identified as a novelist before I identified as a particular kind of novelist, and included in that as being a fantasy writer. But really, I've been writing fiction for a really long time, and writing and publishing and romance is just really new. So that was helpful. And then, so fiction, romance, and then my business. Like, these are all my creations. So they're not, because at first it felt like romance was like this little tiny thing, in relation to the others. And then it's just a new project that needs nurturing, like any other new project. But it also felt like there's something special about being a romance author. I've been wanting to be one since I was in my 20s. So there's something else about it that is really important to me. So I just brought in a lot of support, and that felt good. And so I just said to my system, we're going to bring these in. And however that shows up. Let's see.
You just really made me think of something. Thank you, Beth. Boy, you've done that 2 or 3 times today. Thank you. I'm doing one of my free business calls tonight. Remember, you guys, once a month you can join. They're really good calls. And it's on wellness and work-life balance. And I've already written up the talk for it tonight, which is short. But you make me realize I need to add in a thing, which is it's never just a proper responsibility. It's being a wife, a mother, a business owner, a creator, a person in my community who contributes. We all have multiple responsibilities. And so it's how we, some of them are priorities. So for parents, those kind of come at the top. How do we prioritize them properly? And how are they in relationship to each other? So that's just making me think about adding that in.
There's a lot about that in my constellation. It's the relationship between the
Really
business and being an author, a romance author. Being a business and the fiction. And because business is like kind of a little smug, a little bit, I've been doing this in 8 years. And, and looking at me as a romance author going, you're so little.
Yeah. I can imagine having a dyad with your heart of business and it either saying, I need to take up more space because we're not giving it enough attention and room, or I need to take up less space because you're letting it take over your life, and that doesn't work for me either. So
between self and business.
Yeah. Nice. Joshua.
I kept getting nature imagery with what is your business, so I don't know what to make of that.
Oh, what's so confusing about that?
I mean, I just don't know what to do with that
Yeah,
information.
yeah, so let it just be, that sounds really strong.
A male deer, you know, running around alone. And then I did get an image of me kind of like pointed forward, almost like holding a vision. And it felt like a leadership position, like stepping into that kind of role of being someone who points away. So that wasn't nature. But also then like stars in a lake at night and an owl. I kept on going. I was like, okay, and can you show me some other way? And then something else incomprehensible would come up. So I did. So then with the two cards, it was interesting because in my proper place felt a little like on alert, you know, like, and so that didn't feel as good as the improper place, which felt like just like sleepy and like checking out. And it's like, oh, that one's familiar. It's like, oh, like when I'm running away from responsibility, that's kind of how it felt.
Yeah.
But I could see why I might prefer one card over the other sometimes. That card,
Sure.
you know, feels better than like scanning the environment for danger and feeling like, you know.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's some like, you know, calming of my system that would be helpful. And then the constellation is really interesting because the opportunity I used was, you know, doing this work with these real estate agents. Because I was kind of like, so funny, like I start this conversation and then like start to, you know, open up some possibility, and then I immediately start second guessing it. Like, well, should I really be spending my time doing that? That seems to have like nothing to do with any of the other things that I'm up to.
Yeah.
But so I'm like, all right, let's check it out. And actually, like, I was, you know, really happy about it, and my business was excited about it, and the opportunity was really happy about it. And at first, the opportunity like really liked me, but wasn't so sure about like what to make of the business. Like, what's that thing? Was kind of like doubtful about that. So I added in a resource for the business. Oh, and the business was like kind of sad about that and wanting approval and that sort of thing. I added in a resource that felt really sparkly, and when that was added in, the business stood straighter, felt really vertical, felt confident, didn't really care what the opportunity thought of it. Like, it didn't need the approval. And I had this sense of like clear communication about what it is, and also like more of me coming through it, if that makes sense. Like before I added the resource, it was like the opportunity was like, well, I like you, so if I could see more of you coming through that, then I'd like that more.
Oh, interesting. And what was the resource again?
It was just the resource that would be helpful for the business.
Okay, so you made it a Joker resource.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure like what it exactly means, but I got that sense of like clearer communication and like making it more obvious like what it was and how it was helpful. And so by the end of it, the opportunity was actually more intrigued with the business than it was with me, which seems appropriate actually.
Yeah. So just something to try in the Joker spot. See if nature works.
Oh. Okay.
And I wouldn't know what that means either, but I'm just curious a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing, back to the dyad, the little twosome thing, and the ecology about being in one's proper place. Imagine a child whose proper place is what? To be the child. But this is not safe. So we kick up a little bit of that. There's the potential to kick up some of that, right? Oh, are you kidding me? Be in my proper place? I am screwed if I do that. So from there, you just do your re-imprinting stuff, right?
That nature. So what was occurring to me also was to talk with my friend more about the values of the company and like what's the meaning for the real estate agents
Nice,
of like
nice,
they're not just in it to make more money. So what is it they're in it for?
right.
Um,
Find homes for people.
yeah. But I know that my friend has strong values around the environment, and if I remember correctly, he's building like the largest green housing development in LA right now. So I wonder if there's some environmental angle with the real estate agents as well.
That would be awesome.
That'd be neat.
Yeah.
That would be really, really awesome.
Sustainable real estate marketing. or
That's
real estate.
sweet.
So I don't get that from their website. So I don't know if that's just my friend's personal stance or if
Yeah.
it's in the business, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna find out.
Cool. Excellent.
Can I ask you a real quick question, or maybe we should have an offline? We're supposed to pick up our one-on-ones, right?
Oh, yeah,
We
we
should have
didn't do
a-
that 3 weeks ago. Okay.
Wait, let's have a one-on-one about
You guys do
prepping,
What's the headline?
We also took
prepping you
for the couple
for
hours I need that.
this engagement, because I've done a lot of speaking.
Cool.
So I
appreciate
there's a
that.
lot of prep work.
I'd like to have a call with each of you about this.
Yes, I'm sure you
Well,
will.
you have 6 more to go. You're the only one who hasn't used any yet.
All right, let's do
No,
it.
8 actually.
All right.
So
We
you
need
gotta
all
get
of them,
going.
So
So all I did was the little one, and it was interesting for me. It was reassuring, when you turn them over. So Not Proper Place actually was a K. I haven't felt literally in a while. I really remember it from when I did the experience chain and masters, and I did the PS-1, which is all I could call it was it feels really gross. Because it was this really gross feeling. And then in the Proper Place, kind of like you, it was extremely neutral. It was just neutral. It was just fine. Although I have to say, the longer I stood there, there was just a little buzz of fight flight. Just a little bit of like, so, and I think that comes back again to our learning that no one's in proper responsibility by them or place by themselves. It's always in relationship to other stuff. It's your relationship stuff workshop, right? It's always in relationship to other stuff. So in that little dyad, we did it very nakedly and without the other things it's in relationship to. So there could be the impression of being in one's proper place all by oneself in that little 2 thing. So my guess is I could adjust that pretty easily by bringing in some things that it's in relationship to.
And I want to say real quick that the little flares I get when I was in that place of Not Proper Place, I get them a lot. Like I do have a constant physical alarm system that tells me when things are going well and when things aren't going well. And it's in that, and that's why it's sometimes it's hard to know what it means, but they kick up a lot. It's intense. So I guess it's just reminding me to stay true.
Well, yeah, I think over the years, what is the IPO of tolerating our discomfort with
Yeah.
not being in our proper spot?
I mean,
we do it all the damn
all the time.
time
Yeah.
because there's something that says this is the safest thing to do.
I had physical stomach discomfort for years before I went gluten-free and paleo. I just lived with it. Thought it was normal.
Man, I feel all jacked up after that constellation.
Jacked up. You
Yeah.
do some jumping jacks.
Yeah, I need a little break. If we can get on
Okay,
this.
very little break.
Yeah.
Like, can I do that now?
I'm coming up with a list here.
Sweet.
Oh,
Just
good.
nothing this week if you can manage it. Would be
Uh,
awesome.
Josh and Beth were already talking about wanting to talk, so
Okay, you guys have fun.
What
I
is
meant,
her
I
date?
meant today, this week, like.
No, she put February 8th. What's next?
Oh, Lord.
And can you do me a big favor?
Sure.
And go all the way out on the sidewalk rather than inside the hallways.
Was it
Stay on the
English
good
thing?
side of my name. No, they did not complain, but I walked out in the hallway and it was distinct. So, thanks.
is this by Feb 8th?
The week of.
I see. So between the 8th and the 14th.
And our next meeting is, when is that? The 2nd of March, apparently. Which seems kind of a long ways away.
I probably can't do it till next week anyway.
That's what I have in here. So,
2nd of March is what I have as well.
so there we go. How's that for everyone?
So that's the week of from February.
Yeah, starting, I put down the Sunday.
Cool.
Yeah, no, you have to do it on that day.
I didn't know if it was by February.
Yeah, no, I've been up that week.
What works for you, Beth?
And my apologies, I want to come through. Sure nobody wants more cheese?
I'll take a little.
Okay. I would love it if these crackers went away.
Go feed them to the birds.
I can do that too.
Please.
That's true. It just turned out to be sweeter than I thought the advertising on the box. They look nice and, multi-grainy, but they ended up being kind of sweet.
Let's see. I'm looking at Tuesday the 10th.
Mhm.
It's a production day for me that I could.
Tuesday the 10th. How long did we want to spend?
I think we usually do an hour, like
No.
30 minutes each.
Yeah.
Split it.
Can you do 5?
Yeah, 2 to 5. We do a little bit later, like 5:30.
I have a client at 6.
Oh, you have a client at 6. Okay, yeah, let's do it at 5.
Okay. Thank
I'm
you.
finishing up the thing with a friend. That's the 10th, right?
Yeah.
I did B&I for a year and a quarter,
Ah,
so I know about it. There's a few things that I really like about it. That I.
thanks, bud.
I
should get you water too.
You want me to call you or should I?
Sure.
What's your phone number?
415 225.
415.
You want me to just send you my contact? No.
This is good. Both, all. It's all good. So 415.
225
225.
3460.
You want me to call you?
And what's your phone number?
It's 510-333-7320.
This is your cell.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sure. What's your email address while I'm putting this
Sure.
on?
It's Beth Barani, BARANY @gmail.
That's easy. That way it's in my phone and I'll know it's you when you call. Yeah, please do call me.
Great. So I don't know if in BNI they talked about what they call one-on-one calls or one-on-one meetings.
I know a little bit about that. Like you have to do a certain amount of one-on-ones within the first X number of weeks.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember all those goals, but I found them super useful in terms of practicing the conversation around, oh, who's your favorite client, and getting to know somebody else and then telling them the same thing.
Mhm.
And I do that now in my business.
Who's your favorite client?
Yeah, like if you're in the business of referring people to each other, then you need
Oh.
to know who is their preferred client.
Yeah, yeah.
But then you also, there's like 3 questions. There's 3 core questions. Who's your favorite, who's your ideal client? Like, who are you looking for right now? The second is, why do you love what you do? And then the third one is, how did you get into your business? Because hearing people's origin stories is often very enlightening about who they are.
Mhm.
And those are kind of like the core questions you can ask. And we would have these 60-minute meetings, usually in person, 30 minutes each. And learn a lot about a person.
Nice.
Like, if you even like them. Like, there's a lot of douchebags and
Usually, unfortunately, in the it's like online dating. you sort of on the emails were fine, and the minute you sit down for what's going to be an hour-long date, you realize this is just not right.
Yeah.
But you have to sit through the interaction. Oh.
I'll be back.
Oh, this is for my trip.
Beth, what do you think about this? What I'm considering is changing the answer to who is my ideal client or who am I looking for based on who I'm talking to.
Sure. Oh, for sure.
So it's like if I'm talking to a personal trainer, my ideal client is people who want to stick to their exercise plans versus, the divorce lawyer example.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I'm thinking about trying to build up the referral network that way.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, well, in your case, what I'm really looking for is blah, blah, blah. But it's good for them to know the other things too, because they have networks
Right.
that you're not a part of. So, and then the other thing is to tell stories. Oh, when I was working
Do or
with
don't.
my divorce lawyer, she's sending me people who need help in reconciliation or help with clear communication.
You said do or don't tell stories.
No, do tell stories. Or, and then they start to get a picture of your brain.
Okay.
It's fun.
Okay, so let's see what we can do in the last, 45 minutes?
Yep.
With this last topic. Which is really based on the first topic, which is this generosity stance stuff. So I'm just going to remind you of what it is I figured out, which was the success of that free event wasn't so much about the fact that it was free, but about the stance. Yeah. So, and that what would it mean to have that stance even for paid events, even very, very expensive events? In a sense, Beth was reflecting it in the, I'm just going to send you something. I'm going to send you a little gift. And I just thought about it in the moment. That comes from a spirit of generosity. It can't be forced. This is really, really important. So we can't say be generous. When we're actually feeling scarcity mindset and we try and force generosity, it feels bad to us and to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's actually another sort of improper role kind of thing, a little bit. The forced sharing that sometimes it's really good to teach kids about sharing in a way that really works. And sometimes there's forced sharing that feels so bad to like they're losing something in the process. It's not always an easy thing to teach to kids who don't actually, they're still in that narcissistic phase, which is appropriate for them. No, I need to have everything. Including everything, right?
My 1.5-year-old nephew gets mad at the other kids who come onto the playground. He's like, "This is my playground."
That's also
Mine, he says. He's 1.5.
Okay. And again, when we're in our proper, this is related to proper place. So when we're in our proper place, there's a better chance for experiencing sort of a spontaneous sense of generosity. Now, there's actually, I think in business, there can be a bit of a developmental process here that I think we want to give some fair sort of respect to. I remember in the beginning, this is very common for people who are new to this. Oh, will you give me a discount? Sure. Just so that I'm getting a little money in. And it's not a really generosity. It's not having boundaries, right? Right? And then I very quickly I figured out that wasn't going to work. Some people spend years in that space. I didn't stay there very long. And I made very strong boundaries about my prices and about when I give discounts and stuff like that. That felt really good. In a sense, it felt like being generous to myself. I think now when I look back on it.
That's so important.
Yeah. And now my boundaries about that aren't as firm because I feel safer about myself. I know I'm giving good things to myself. and that I have space to give and be generous. Yeah. Now, when I say developmental process, that often implies that there's a standard developmental process, which I don't think there is. But to give yourself like points for allowing this to unfold a little bit. Generosity isn't just about to others, right? And for those of us who are overgiving or overextending or have trouble with boundaries, sometimes we actually have to start erring on the side to giving to ourselves a bit, just so we can heal some of that. Again, this is, I could say, versus scarcity mindset, right? And my apologies, mindset is really the wrong word, because that works into the whole world. And change your mindset, change your thoughts. It's the way we experience life, and it requires healing, and it's ecology. And the more we do our own healing, the less we are in scarcity. For me, it's really connected. And I've done this rant a little bit. To me, it's really connect with enoughness. Less than abundance, although at a certain place, those words mean the same thing. I'm just a little bit in opposition to the sort of prosperity gospel if you just get your thoughts right, you'll have money as far as the eye can see kind of thing. And that I think the world needs an enoughness mindset more than it needs an abundance mindset. But it's grounded in an abundance mindset. It's like there's lots, right?
So it seems like a lot of the abundance mindset stuff comes out of a larger frame of like this idea that the economy can grow infinitely.
Yes.
And
Which is finally getting some visible critique, which is nice.
there's a book called The Logic of Sufficiency.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? It's
Not that, but a lot of people are talking about this now.
It's like the answer to, like, it's the answer back
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
So enoughness feels so in line with that stance.
Yeah. So we'll say versus gospel of infinite growth.
I'm reading Capital in the 21st Century, which is
The Piketty book.
Or stop. I'm reading it on digital, which is great because I can do I can highlight, note, look up things, and look at his footnotes. It's fascinating,
I bet.
very well translated. And
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
doing a book club too with it.
Apparently, it's a status symbol if you take the real thing to the beach and you're reading it.
Oh, God.
I think it's a status symbol if you can actually read the whole thing.
It's
What's
a
it
very
called?
big book.
Capital in the 21st Century.
It was named by many people the most important book of the
It's
2014.
worth it. It blew me away.
Can I just
Yes,
put
please.
up that to me, when I feel into the abundance mindset, it feels like it's attached to the scarcity model.
Exactly.
It's like
Right.
not
I agree.
enough and then so much.
Right.
Right. And enoughness is actually recognizing that we all can have enough.
Right.
without the
I don't need a
intensity of-
fifth Mercedes,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Which comes back to our other conversation about length of penises.
Yeah. Sounds perfectly adequate.
I mean, in a certain sense, there's two things that comes back: primate dominant stuff, which we really need to deal with respectfully because it's part of our brain, and the best way, its proper place, right? That's what it's seeking, is harmony in the system. I want to say a word about that in just a second. And then the other thing it's connected to, of course, is ancestral suffering
Right.
and of great impoverishment, and still something in the system what's going, never that again. I'm going to have 5 Mercedes. No, I'm going to have 10. No, I need 15 now. Because you can never correct the impoverishment of your ancestors by having 20 Mercedes. It's, when someone dies of starvation, there's no abundance that fixes that.
Yeah.
Right? It's interesting though, this is a bit of a sidebar, but it's really interesting. The only place where the horses really came in, they really didn't play a big role, but she talked about how horses naturally seek balance and harmony because they're herd animals, right? So they're always looking for what makes the herd work. And when you start a constellation, what? Things are out of balance. They can feel that. So you set up your mom and your dad and your sister and blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't feel good. So the horse stays way over on the other side of the corral and is like, get me out of here. There's this place where you can feel the resolution. In that sense, it was quite conventional constellations. We were using people and whatnot. And at that point, the horse would come on over and join us
Wow.
as kind of a barometer
Yeah.
of balance in the system, which was very interesting. We would go, oh, this feels better. Oh, and here comes Silver. So it just fits into that proper place. And the good side of prominent dominance is not that there's someone on top and someone on the bottom, but they find a way for the group to work, right? Okay, so sorry, sidebar. Now, I really want to say something about this. It's relevant to you guys, but I think you're working through enough of this that it's not as relevant. But when things are actually scarce, it's hard to be generous.
Mhm.
Although statistically, poor people donate
Right.
more than rich people.
Well, I actually have a bud about this. Yeah, no, totally, because you can be generous. I mean, the two mites of the widow. That's the famous gospel story. You know, she put into the alms out of her poverty more than the wealthy are able to put in or do put in. She out of her poverty gave more than the rich. So yes, statistically the poor are more generous, but if you're struggling in a business and you're not making an income and you're not having a flow, that state, it's a struggle, it's hard.
Yeah.
And so what I want to invite people to do if they want to be generous is, and we understand our language here about this. This is really, really important that we have the frame, get successful. Do your work so that your business can support you. Whatever it is that you need to do that. There's also, there's no shame in poverty. There's also no glory in it. You know, in that sense of, it feels better when you can pay your bills. No, we do know people who can pay their bills and still manage to feel like they don't have enough, and they really still struggle about it all. Like, you know, I am like exhibit A for worry is not very well related to actually how much money you have coming in. I transformed worry. I had some change thing, and at some point the worry just went away, even though the money hadn't changed much.
So what do you mean when you say get successful?
It's earn enough to pay your bills. It's just, you know, get that. And get is a terrible word, and successful it's a good word, but it can be misunderstood. But I mean, Mark really does talk about this, as we do understand. If you're feeling like it's a struggle, let's slow down and put the things in place that you need so that, you know, you have what you need.
I would say do the work. Like
Yeah.
instead of sitting in that scrunched position,
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, what is the foundational piece? What's the next piece?
Unfortunately, for some people, that's
hard.
it's really easier said than done.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I've been hanging out in this
Right.
place
Right.
for my whole adult life.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I want to make sure that this is kind of understood, not as like an accusation. What I mean here is your focus needs to be on you and your business. Then how can I be more generous?
So focus on your business.
Which is a way to have money, is one way to be able to be generous. It's not the only way to be generous. They're just people who are like, well, actually at this point, I want to hand this out because I remembered this. I'm going to, you two read together because I want to read this out loud. This is from Mark and his Heart of Money Transformational Journey, which is a great course. They don't teach it anymore, which I'm sorry about. About tithing, which for those of you who don't know the word, in Christianity, the idea is you're supposed to give 10% of your income to the church. But for other people, it's just, you know, giving a consistent amount. Muslims also, it's one of the pillars is almsgiving. And a lot of traditions have almsgiving as a key piece of the spiritual life. I believe strongly in giving back financially and with my time. It's rewarding. It does good things, and it's just the right thing to do. Do I believe in tithing as a method of creating abundance? I mean, you've heard this, give away so you will receive something. That's a trickier question. This entire book is founded on the teaching that the divine generally supports those who are in service in giving of themselves to those who need. However, if you are using tithing as a strategy to create wealth, I can't say I've seen it work exactly like that. There's a school of thought that believes that prayer works something like a vending machine. Put in a prayer, get out a candy bar. As you now know, it's not that simple or mechanical. It's a relationship. Tithing has to be an authentic giving, or it's not true tithing. Give because your heart authentically wants to give and because you have enough to give. But don't give if you are spending your last $5 hoping that it will be multiplied into $500 based on some divine law of return. Now, tithing is best when it comes from the heart and you will be supported.
This goes back to you can't force it.
Right, you can't force it. And so if you're wanting to step more into generosity, I invite people who are struggling in their businesses to give themselves full permission to focus on their businesses so that they can get to where they want it to be.
Wow, that does seem like the most generous thing they can do.
Yeah. So with the caveat around, you can be generous from any place. Okay, so that's it. I want us to do some constellations, and I need to evaluate the time. Okay, got a half hour. Okay. Yes, we can do this. So you're going to do 3 sub constellations, again, by yourself. The first one and the last one, very short. They're just informational. One in the middle is the more hefty one. Okay. So the first one, 2 cards, kind of like that proper place, not proper place. What we might call forced or asserted. Remember Carl's language of asserting something. Asserted generosity. Versus whatever we might call authentic generosity. You're just going to kind of get, a reference K for these. Hopefully they come up cleanly. This one feels crappy. This one feels good. But you're going to be on the lookout for ecology, right? Right. In certain family systems, we could understand authentic generosity might feel very dangerous. We do understand. You got really punished for giving your toys away to your neighbors. I don't know. Okay, so this is short. This is brief. Don't spend a lot of time on this. It's information gathering. The second one, the cards are you. I'm just going to call this any unsafety, well, we should probably call that danger, but we'll call it unsafety, around generosity, whether you noticed it in the first one or not. And the third one is, entangled ancestor. So whoever you're entangled with, that's causing this difficult K. We're going to call that a K minus. And then, so do that first to get a feel for that. And then once you've done that, bring in a resource ancestor or ancestor. This is obviously resource ancestors. Okay. So this one will take longer. And then the last one is short again. Return to number 1 and recheck it out again.
We need more cards.
Yes.
I call it coda in music. Put coda at the end of the sheet music and it needs.
Right. Yeah. Although in this case, it may feel really different.
Coda.
Coda, cola.
Here's a bunch more. There you go. And I'm just, while you're doing that, I'm just gonna do number one, just so I can feel it for myself. But otherwise, I'll be available to help you with the constellations. Oh, no, he's just going to use the restroom. So 5 minutes tops on the first one. It shouldn't even take you that long. Well, that doesn't look good. Unless you're stretching your lower back. I'm realizing the strongest reaction sometimes to a card is like before, like when I'm just going to step on it. I get the cleanest sense of what it's about. Rats!
We're supposed to do it blind?
You don't. You can try it blind. You can turn it back over, shuffle them. It ultimately it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you think it's gonna rain? My sinuses are kicking up.
It's
Tomorrow,
supposed to
for sure.
rain like tomorrow.
Through Monday.
We got a low pressure system.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a beautiful sunrise, and then the fog came in, which is not normal.
Yeah, it's very odd. The moisture in the air.
The other thing is that looks slightly like smoke.
Jesus. Okay.
I may have to do the constellation as you guys are doing yours because mine ended up upside down. Wow.
It's funny. What was me bending over backwards?
That is amusing. You would either have that or being a beast of burden, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure all the metaphors come out.
Switch.
Mine was two.
That's weird.
Well, that's why you have the constellation.
But I mean, when I didn't do it blind, it was one thing, and then when I did blind, it was another.
Do it one more time just for safety,
Yeah.
but I would trust the blind one more.
Okay.
You know how it is, right?
So I'm holding on to it.
Should I do mine over?
Yes. So start to wrap up the first one if you haven't yet. Begin to another minute or two at most.
Yeah.
This is why blind is so useful. And everyone knows what I mean by entangled ancestor, right? At this point? Like, on whose behalf you are having such a difficult experience of generosity.
And then is the second constellation blind or not?
You can do it either way. I'm going to just start out blind, but I probably won't keep it blind for more than, a moment. But, either way, it doesn't really matter.
Ah, damn. Reverse blind. Kind of reverse, a little different. Huh.
Okay.
Tricky.
Move on into the constellation if you haven't yet. That's really interesting. And feel free, even though I'm doing my own constellation, feel free to interrupt me if you need help with something. It's okay. Remember, when you bring in the resource ancestor or ancestors, it's more for the entangled ancestor, not really for you. Although it's fine if it's both and. Wow. Ow.
So what do we do with resource ancestors? Just kind of bring it in.
Figure out, bring it in, put it down where at first they seem to want to be in the role. And then adjust. Did you do the last one too, the recheck?
Yeah.
You're a speedy.
T with the put cards on top of cards. Can't remember. I don't know actually.
Meaning what?
Putting the resource ancestors with the entangled ancestors.
Well, then they'd just be next to each other, right?
It's gonna put one on top of the other,
But what would that mean in terms, if you had representatives, would you have one get on the shoulders of the other or
Nope. I'd have one behind the other.
right behind or, yeah?
Probably right behind it. Well, actually. Oh, this is a little weird, but okay. Hmm.
That's really interesting. Okay. I can't say that was the most resolved constellation in the universe. And if you haven't moved into your last one, you might want to do that. Finish your middle one.
Interesting. Okay.
That was unresolved. Ha!
That's better. Sweet.
That's for you. I did not manage to find the resolution to my constellation. Hopefully I adjusted things a little bit. Okay, who would like to share from that a little bit? Joshua, you finished first. Why don't you share? You're probably ready to share.
So my forced generosity card felt really sad and kind of painful and like kind of a child place. You know, that kind of like, I'm afraid, please take care of me. And the authentic generosity, it felt good-ish and it was calm. Then when I did the middle constellation, it was me, ancestor, unsafety, and the unsafety card felt a lot like that forced generosity card. And then the ancestor felt like that also, only like really the intensity turned up, just like, and felt like it had to stand in between me and the unsafety. When I added a resourceful ancestor, that ancestor's impulse was to like, you know, have the other one. And that felt really good for the entangled ancestor. And then I had the resourceful ancestor say to me, I've got this one. And that just helped everything. And then the unsafety card didn't feel like anything anymore. And I felt like it could go away. So I took it out. So then when I rechecked the cards, and I rechecked them blind, the forced generosity card felt a little off, but there was no charge on it. It was just kind of like, just, I mean, forced generosity just isn't like, I don't imagine we would want it to feel really good. But
Right. But not having charge seems useful.
Really
Yeah.
bad either.
Yeah.
And then the authentic generosity card, it felt even better than the first time. It was very calm. It was stable. It's like my chest was filled with breath.
Nice.
I was surprised that it didn't feel more effusive or energetic, or there's no sense of flow to it. It was just was what it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was nice.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yay, Joshua's system. How about you next, Beth? You wrapped up next.
Yeah, I when I did the forced and then versus authentic, I didn't do it blind, and then I did it blind again. It switched, and the force felt wobbly, like a little spacey, like I'm standing there but my knees were wobbling. All right, and then I moved to the second one, and me and the unsafe generosity felt really not good. The entangled ancestor was fine. Okay. So I did that a few times, checked it. And then I brought in resource ancestor or ancestors. I was very non-specific. And it just, everything settled down. Took a big deep breath.
Nice.
And then I went back and checked, and me and the unsafe felt fine. Like there was like, oh, we feel better. We can breathe now. And the entangled ancestor was more before it was neutral. Now it was like, it was nice, aha. And then I went back to check the force versus authentic, and I got total neutrality from both of those. But then my pen fell on the floor. I'm like, oh, it wants in. So I heard what you're saying about
Nature
things wanting in.
constellations, yeah.
So I stepped into it, and it was the one that was all wobbly. And then I'm like, oh, what is this? And I realized that's the ecology. It like separated itself.
Oh, interesting.
So to me, it's like things bubble up from the unconscious, and I'm like, oh, this is coming up, to be addressed in some clearer fashion. So that's what it was. It's interesting. It's kind of interesting how those two things were just totally neutral when I rechecked them. It's like,
What's the difference?
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't get any yes, no, up, down, nothing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, in a world of real generosity, authentic generosity, there is no polarity of inauthentic or forced, right?
So maybe it was as if these two positions just became the same thing.
Yeah, it's just now it's just generosity.
Ecology.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we get to deal with these separately.
Yeah.
So when I did it the first time, the first one, I could see it, and my forced was heavy, kind of folded, bending over backwards, and my authentic was feeling actually pretty good. And then when I did them blind, they kind of reversed. So the authentic was heavy, and the forced was generally okay. So I did the next one blind, and my unsafety felt really kind of gnarly looking at the other two. I only checked in on myself, which felt sort of sad but okay. And then the entangled ancestors, they were also, everybody was fuzzed out except for me, basically. So if the entangled ancestors looked at the unsafety patterning, that was a little bit more focused. Once I kind of moved them behind me, they were like, yeah, that's important. Like without that, we wouldn't have enough. Like kind of like a strong, like, you know, it didn't feel good, but it was like, this is the way it is, you know? And me, I was just kind of like fuzzed out every time I would look at the unsafe thing. When I got the generosity, the resource ancestors in there, which I labeled generosity for some reason, they came in with open arms, like literally like out like this. And
Nice.
there was sort of like no problems anywhere, just a little sadness for the entangled ancestors. So then I was like trying to figure out how to get it to work. So I had them both behind me, but the resource ancestor was facing both me and the entangled ancestor, and the entangled ancestor was facing the resourceful ancestor. Both behind me, but not specifically looking at me. And so then when I checked in on everybody, it felt pretty good in the system, and the unsafety around generosity felt neutral. So there really wasn't anything going on, no kind of stress or anything.
Oh, good.
So when I did a recheck blind, the authentic felt good and I was smiley, and then the forced one felt neutral. So
You guys had very nice, successful constellations. Well done. Mine was a mess. Yeah. And that actually I'd forgotten about my constellation at the horse thing. So, but it reminded me of that. In the first dyad thing, generosity felt like a disaster. It just felt like a complete, like, Holocaust level kind of disaster. And I'm like, right. And that's when I decided to do the second one. And the best moment we had in the constellation was the very beginning. Stepped onto myself blind, and she was like, "Yeah, fine. I'm looking out there. You know, I see them. You know." And everything I brought in afterwards just made it worse. The resource ancestor did not feel great. It's like something snuck in there, or something got upside down. So, just want to share from the horse constellation, something showed up that I haven't seen in a while. That was distressing to me that it showed up, because I thought, oh man, I thought this one was over, which was for a very long time, a lot of my constellations at NLP Marin, the first one I had with Michelle in the constellation class was a disaster. And it had this pattern, which was me and my representative, both me sitting on the side and my representative feeling like my parents are not safe for me, and the facilitator insisting they are. And this really gross feeling of no, this really doesn't feel safe. And the facilitator is representing something in the system without being aware of it, thinking they're being clean, because it happens so many times with Carl and with Michelle over the years. And anytime I did a constellation that didn't have to do with my parents, this dynamic would not show up. I did an abortion constellation once. It was gorgeous. And this dynamic, but every time it involves my parents, this slight sense of the facilitator's not on my side, they're going to force me into intimacy with my parents, and it doesn't feel resolved enough for me to do that, comes up. And I was like sitting there going, fuck, really? And now I'm philosophical enough about constellations to not get very triggered by it. It's just like, okay, whatever, that's what came up. but it makes me aware that whatever that funny upside down thing is, and that drafts the facilitators somehow into wanting to tell me, it's just you, Leslie. It's just you, and really, it's fine for you.
That's so interesting. I can't imagine anyone actually saying that in a constellation, unless they were in that kind of a role.
Michelle literally said twice, and I went pretty crazy back then. The only danger in this system is Leslie. And I'm like, did you just really say that? And does everyone not notice that that's really fucked up? It felt so crazy. So at any rate, and then it showed up again with the facilitator, not in a really explicit way, but kind of going, yeah, your mom looks great. I'm like, but it feels really gross. So at any rate, that feels a little implicated in whatever showed up here today. I think me and generosity are fine.
Yeah.
I just think something got roped in.
Yeah.
Um,
It seems a
Same.
little F2, that whole oh no, it's your problem.
yeah.
It's all on you. You got to fix it.
Yeah.
And then leave you without resources.
Yeah. Or classic borderline,
Oh, okay.
which is F2
Okay.
as well.
Is it? Okay.
It's an F2 energy. But yeah. But I love you, honey.
Mhm.
Come close.
Right. Okay.
So, anyway, so that's fun. And really, really wanting to find the right facilitator to do that with and not being able to figure out who that would be. So, if anyone's got a good idea, let me know. So, takeaways for today. For yourself, what are your takeaways?
Well, as a practical takeaway, I was actually reading an article in your bathroom by that internet genius on virality.
Virality.
And he just said a few sort of practical things, but I have a generosity campaign going on right now for my romance, but it was muddled. So I'm just going to rewrite it. I'm going to keep that was
Interesting.
I was kind of like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? It's not, I feel like it's not clear. What do I do? So just rewrite the pitch.
If you want me to scan and email that to you, I can, or we can just rip it out right now. If you want to take it home,
Actually, would you scan an email to all of us?
Yeah, I actually didn't like the article because I felt it was virality in the service of crap. It was all about memes and cat videos and how to make things. It's all about, it's not about things that matter very much.
But it is really cool from a techie kind of.
Oh, and how to actually make tipping points.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
And he's fascinating, the guy.
I
would love to.
But I got about halfway through. I said, "Oh, this is all about making stupid things popular."
What magazine?
Can't stand it. The New Yorker. Actually, I'm reading the article on changes in Turkey in their relationships to Armenia. I find that more interesting, really interesting.
So that's my big sort of, that's my practical thing.
Excellent.
Because I am running a weekly book giveaway. I'm going to give away a book to 2 people every week on my Facebook fan page.
Yeah.
And I'm asking for stories. And I realized my request was too vague. So I'm going to change the request. Share. I haven't decided yet. I have to make it super simple. That's what I realized. I was getting too complicated. So that's my idea.
Cool. Anything else? Takeaways? Big takeaways?
I'm still in the fog of all
the constellation, yeah.
Yeah, and everything we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Nothing that I can point to specifically.
Well, someone may say something and you'll go, "Oh yeah, that too."
Yeah.
I can go.
Yeah.
I'll say that the everything in the proper responsibilities was golden and so relevant to the last 2 or 3 weeks of my life. Especially the organizational constellations frame really. I feel like there's something there for me in the future. I like that.
You want to borrow this book then? Because I got it all from this book.
Excellent. I had a question about.
That's a Fulker Frank recommend. It's a quick read.
Wait.
Never when he's done.
Yes.
And then
My card.
these things about love, trust, and valuing who we are, and dignity of the role that we're called to, is very strong for me with where I was last year. I don't know. Everything just felt ridiculously relevant. Good job on that.
Just responding to your guys' emails.
Yeah, well, it's in like these are conversations within the last couple of days, basically, that I've been having. Value and enoughness, all of that feels really good for either me or people I'm connected to. And there's one other thing. I wrote this down just while sitting here. I don't think you said it. It just popped into my head. But relationship and or respect is seeing creator and or uniqueness, specialness, and or sacredness in the other. That's when I think that's going to be useful for me.
That's also Carl's frame of self and other self.
Yeah, and but just in my language, I guess. You know?
Yeah.
So
It's the F1 frame of, yeah,
seeing that specialness in the
we're
other.
all selves and other selves.
Good to know. Thank you.
That does bring back to my desire to really understand rapport, and so that I can teach it, adapt it to my
Oh yeah,
folks. And as we were going through a lot of this, top of mind is my assistant or apprentice, and thinking about how I need to do a re-imprint with her, and how, like, there's some foundational things, and how she responds really well to constellations when we do them over the phone. So
Cool,
just kind of
cool.
and rapport, rapport, and some more rapport.
Yeah.
And yes.
Remember next time we talk to ask me about teaching a rapport and little tips about that. Joshua, takeaways.
Well, I'm feeling better than when I came here. That's the thing I'm noticing mostly. Like on my way over, I was kind of like, and now I'm feeling more excited about this whole real estate project. I'm excited to talk to you both about it. I don't quite know how to fit the proper responsibility stuff into my kind of thing right now, but it was all very interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it was on your list. I think it was on these guys' list. So not that you're not interested, but yeah.
Sure. But the organizational constellation stuff was not on my list consciously previously, but what I'm thinking is that if I do a good job with these real estate agents, there might be opportunity later to help at the level of working with the partners of this company, if they need help in the future. And
Can I represent?
It's probably time for us to pester Folko Frank to do another one of his organizational constellation workshops for us. The last time he did it was like 2 years ago.
I did that, and it was interesting, but I don't feel like I got very much out of it in terms of like how to do them.
How to do them is a little tricky. This book gets into it a little bit, but not a ton,
Oh, interesting. Is there a different book that does?
probably.
I'll start.
But there's they set up stuff in here and they do some case studies. I think partly because unlike families, organizations just have so many different kinds of structures. There are more pyramidal ones, there are bigger ones, there are smaller ones. So coming up with kind of some simple ways of doing it, you actually have to feel into what the right organization is. In a way, in a family constellation, you go, yeah, you put the bigger ones behind the smaller ones.
Right.
Right? So it requires a lot more. I think Folker might say it takes a lot more practice in some ways, probably.
Can I give this to Josh first? Because I think that this is where I'm going and not where I'm at right now.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So mark down your library card.
This constellation of think of a situation where you're not sure if it's your proper place, actually really useful.
Oh, good.
And it's funny because it's not, it's just a slight tweak on the types of things we've done anyway, like which sub-sandwich should I have? But
Right.
something about the proper place frame on it, like really makes that feel useful for if I'm having something like the real estate agent thing again, like, do I really want to go in this direction? I could do this little constellation
Yeah.
format.
The only dilemma being there's no accounting for ecology,
Sure.
which is always it can create confusion. But you have ways of working with that as well.
And this takeaway of if you're struggling, give yourself permission to focus on your business feels really good.
Oh, good.
And just this weekend with Wendy, she just told me straight up to stop whining and do my work. And so it's like
Wendy can say things I can't say, right?
well,
she's got weight.
she's
She's got
got
a role.
she has weight, but she also has a different skill set and a different relationship. And she says, she looks at me and she's like, I love you, so I have to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
And it landed well.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
While I'm
Yeah.
laying there arguing for my inability. And she's like, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's funny, from that fierce place, someone is actually aligned with something stronger and you're letting yourself notice about yourself. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And not everybody can say those things.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit of a shove at the ecology.
yeah, I mean, it's been years in the coming for her to work with us in this way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
she's been so gentle with us
Yeah.
along the way. And we're finally at a place where we're like, come on, kick us in the butt.
Yeah.
She's pointing out all my shit right now. It's kind of amazing.
Because you asked her to.
Because I asked her to. Yeah.
Well, and I'm going to join you guys for one upcoming, but because of the Sawaka trip, this round was
It's gonna
not
be-
possible.
Pouring rain, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking you might really love the ancestral work that we do in the mountain work.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really just.
I think
so
I'm getting
alignment.
more and more ready for it. I've been a little spookish about it. And so, it's 3:09. Can I
Gotta
share
go
you?
soon, but
Can I share you a quick story from the horse constellations, just
Please.
as an example? So the dogs were like raising their hands for rolls constantly, their paws.
Really, how did they do it?
Well, the facilitator has these two dogs.
Okay.
They like to run around. One's a Jack Russell, another one is some kind of collie mix. Lovely dogs. And they're just running dogs. They're just running all over the place. They're chasing each other and doing all this stuff. So they were recruited almost into every constellation. And we were doing one in which I was the father. And the client had said, in our family, you got attention if you were sick. So that's sort of, we understand that in a family where the father is a doctor. And somewhere towards the beginning-ish, not very beginning, but we were 10 minutes in, the dogs started chasing each other in a different way, like a little more manic and a little bit more aggressive than they had been. And we were noticing it and going, oh, that's part of the constellation, without making a whole lot of meaning out of it. And then all of a sudden there was a thump and a yelp. And a dog, they had like run into a tent pole because she had a tent there to get out of the sun. And one of them was limping. And I turned to the facilitator and I said, your dog is injured. You should do something about that. And then the client went, see? Someone got drafted into the constellation as the injured one who's getting my father's attention. And I went, because I thought I was just being Leslie, who notices slight unsoundness issues in animals, because I know how to read it in a horse now. And oh my God. That's how the dog was recruited into that one.
Crazy.
That dropped my jaw. That one just flat out dropped my jaw. The dog ended up being okay. By the way, I know you're worried. But in mine, it got drafted probably into the role of a lost twin, which is something that's shown up in constellations before. These dogs were manic, running around, doing their dog thing. And all of a sudden they'd come into the corral, because we did it in a corral, and they'd lay down in the middle. And you're like, that's not normal. That's something.
Oh,
So
great.
So you start to trust the environment better. And then there were some clients who started really over-interpreting and seeing, oh, that's that, and that's it. And I kind of went, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
So the danger is to get really over-interpreting about it, and getting all magical thinking about it. But you want to stay in tune with what's actually a representation and what's just a tumbleweed that happens to be going through the crowd. But I really liked that. It opens something. It allows something to, and it makes it more that shamanistic kind of an experience that you guys are probably already really experienced with.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice kind of overlap between.
Yeah.
I mean, because the family constellation stuff has some roots in like the Zulu ancestral work.
Right.
Um,
And I'm sure Francesca is borrowing wildly from her tradition, which is some Western Washington, Eastern Washington state tribe. I don't know if I should. So,
I mean, so it's the same. In a sense, it's a similar frame where it's like, you know, the ancestors don't go anywhere; they're still up
Right.
here.
yeah.
So you can still be in relationship with them. In fact,
Talk to them.
it's vital.
Yeah.
What's that?
And talk to them.
Yes.
Well, I have a cat who I call Shaman Cat. He comes into my office when I'm having client calls. There are only certain kinds of client
Yeah.
calls. And he demands attention. And he's pretty needy. He needs a lot of hugs. He needs to be held and put right here, and so he can be all snuggly. But he somehow shows up. You know? And then sometimes the other cat, the black cat, will come in and like park herself.
All the time I'm doing constellations by Skype, right at the most sensitive moment, their dolls will come over and put their head on their lap or something like that. It happens all the time.
I think we're
Okay, guys.
for the
Thanks.
week of this.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So we're on the 2nd, I believe.
March 2nd. So I'm gonna email you for, if you don't mind, about resources for.
For what's report? Yeah. Oh, this is well timed because once he
I know.
starts doing the leaf blowing, I absolutely. I'm always terrified he's going to do that when I have a client sitting on the couch. I can handle it on Skype or on phone because the earbuds keep most of it out, but it's quite a difficult noise, and it's usually an hour or two. And they do it a lot, it seems to me.
I'll put it down.
Is that the garbage?
I'll put that in the recycling.
You guys want my chocolate?
And just to remind everyone, I'm away the 8th through the 19th.
So send me all your dirty
So
secrets.
I'm not likely to be responsive unless you're in desperate shape, in which case, why are you contacting me?
And
I'm not helpful. It was terrible. Last night I had a client who's really just starting up her NLP practice. She had a session with a client, and apparently after the session she went home and broke up with her boyfriend, who decided to go ape shit on my client in a frightening kind of way. It turns out this person needs to break up with this boyfriend because he sounds a little lunatic.
yeah, that's scary.
So my client, the programmer, was very upset last night and couldn't quite figure out what her responsibility was. And I'm like,
Wow.
again, right up with this theme of responsibility.
Do you want to get a call on the calendar, Beth?
All right, I'm gonna go, folks.
All right, give me a hug. Am I gonna see you at all later today?
I don't know because Tom's having a dinner party tonight.
Okay. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be there probably at 10:30 again.
Okay.
My jump will stop at my house first.
Used.
I'll see you.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.
I'll see you soon, next week, right?
Alright. So the week of the
Okie
15th is us.
Okay, sweetie. See you soon.
Yeah. So starting 15th through the 24th. So
Watch out for the leaf blower.
I get to.
Don't get sucked up or blown away or anything. Oh, and Joshua, you didn't get one of these.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
You didn't get one then. Someone didn't get one because I
I
only
did
printed
not get one.
3.
If I'm out of order on this, it's good. Yep, we're wrong. That's good, Josh.
I'm talking about next week.
Yep, let's so let's do you and me.